All right, so my podcast this Easter morning is with Jerry Poncin, a.k.a. what's Jerry Pancake?
Jerry Pancake, Jerry Pancocky.
Jerry Pancocky, yeah. On Jerry's podcast, he's the SoCool podcast, which is available iTunes, Google Play, is on Stitcher and all that.
It's on Stitcher,
yeah.
all
the places.
Stuff.
Right, just like this one is. I think I'm a little bit behind him on whether what I'm on and what I'm not on, but just we were talking before the podcast started about. We kind of started. I didn't know you were doing it. I don't think you knew I was doing it. And then realized we were both doing podcasts, which they're completely different setups. Yours is like a comedy.
It's a kind of a nostalgia.
Yeah,
combined
80s.
With comedy.
Yeah, I've been digging the bits, man. I mean, you guys do like a fake news bit.
Well, we're injecting a little bit here and there, and there's a history. There's kind of a history behind it.
Yeah.
We had a website a long time ago called SoCool AZ where we did kind of like the Onion parody stuff. Sure. And we've been friends for a long time. And we actually were going to do a podcast back in 2010, which is the story of my life, which, no follow through.
Right. Well, that would have been, man, 2010, because I saw statistics that said that right now there's 500,000 podcasts versus YouTube has 500 million channels.
Yes.
So, like, if you're trying to do a YouTube channel, good luck.
Good luck with that.
And I don't know if you know, but YouTube changed their monetary policy. So, like, I got a video that I put on, got to be somewhere around 2009, 2010, 1,000-gallon fish tank that we put together. And it was like it's like a 7 or 8 minute video, pretty short, but it's got 15,000 views on it. Of that video. And I'm guessing it's only 5 or 8 minutes long. That they watched the whole video. It's pretty easy to watch. So it's got all those views. And I guess at one time you used to make money that way. Like you monetize that. I never monetized anything. My YouTube channel is not monetized now. But it's not monetized now because it couldn't be. You need 1,000 subscribers to YouTube, to your channel, to monetize, and 4,000 minutes a month. Yeah, right. It's almost impossible. Where like there's some little 12-year-old kid or 9-year-old kid that makes like $1 million a year reviewing toys. Which, hey man, that's great. More power to you, and everything. But so, what was the reason for the podcast?
We've talked about it for a while. In my job as a mailman, I consume podcasts constantly, almost all day.
Right, walking, right?
So,
Are you driving?
I walk.
You walk, okay.
Like 10 miles a day.
Yeah, my buddy Eric Conkle, he was a guy walking, and I think he misses it now. He says he was in much better shape.
He's been there long enough where he gets a route that he can drive.
No, now he's like working some like in the shop or something like that, mechanical. Like he's doing something.
VMF, that's a good job.
Right. He's by St. Louis. I'm sure he digs his new job, but he said he had like what was the Stephen King calves like cantaloupes, hauling all that marijuana back.
So I consume, a lot of podcasts, and my buddy and I guess the main reason why I did it was to make myself laugh.
Yeah.
And if other people get it, then it's cool. But
sure.
It's a bit sophomoric. It's kind of like if we were at a high school party back in the day. Mm-hmm. This is the kind of stuff we'd be.
Oh, that's good.
We'd be talking about.
Cheers!
Happy Easter!
Yeah, cheers.
Us heathens are not in church. I came right after church. Just so you know.
Yeah. I haven't had a Bloody Mary in a while, but that's good. So my reasons were similar. I was going out. Actually, the one guy that put me into getting, like, in the train of thought of getting a podcast, and we never talked about it with each other, was this guy buddy of mine, Tony, and he is Republican, but we can go out for 4 or 5 hours drinking in the afternoon, tacos, and have a great conversations, and I never walk away from it upset with the guy. I don't think he walks away from it upset. I'm pretty positive he doesn't. And I always walked away from those conversations feeling like inspired that we could all have conversations.
Right.
That's pretty good. And then also like makes your brain work and think, where so many people I think just drudge through life watching Dances with the Stars and doing whatever they're doing and not thinking about anything. Mm-hmm. Where I like this stimulate of having the conversations with the guy. So I'm like, I got to have more. If my life was, if I'm looking for a meaning in life and a thing to be happy about, like, I want to have good conversations. I want to sit down.
Right.
And then I'm like, well, I have good conversations about things that nobody would care about.
Right.
So those aren't going to be any good. So I was like, what can I do that I know so many people who know something about something. And I mean, you've got like, you don't have like a, like the Jim Bennett with the yoga, like he's been around the planet learning that and everything else. And I mean, as far as a yoga teacher goes, he's really one of the top-notch guys. He's like, my girlfriend does yoga at a couple different places, and all the instructors go to him for their classes, sort of a deal. So it was great to have him on and kind of go over the history of yoga and all that stuff. But like I see your stuff on social media with the political stuff, which we pretty much come from the same angle on it.
I think we're in the same place.
Yeah, sort of same place.
Similar.
Right. And then I want to talk about the post office, because you work at the post office, and the misconceptions of the post office absolutely drive me up the wall. I mean, there's people who are mad that the post office somehow takes tax dollars. It
does not. That is a very common thing.
And the service that's available there, I equate it to, like, if we could just get people to understand that you put a 50-cent stamp on an envelope, and 2 days later my cousin in California is opening the envelope for 50 cents. Like, if I called the private company FedEx to do that, it would be $9 or whatever the hell it is. Right.
Whatever it is now.
Yeah, to do the same exact job. So if you could just translate that to healthcare and say, listen, I want to put the 50-cent stamp on a thing and get my healthcare taken care of versus...
Yeah, the bottom line is it's a service that's provided for free, technically, for
it's
all
revenue
of us.
neutral.
We all get mail,
right.
regardless of whether we want it or not. And... it's a quasi-federal agency, so we have to answer to Congress, but we are not funded by the government.
Right.
So it puts us in a position to where they can tell us what to do, but they're not the ones generating, giving us the money. Now, I think that happened in the 1970s, because they wanted to run it more like a business. Well, it's not a business. We support large industries like the bulk mailing. So just think about if it was legal for people to spam your email.
Yes, right.
And they could make money at it.
Sure.
You would have email, for days.
Yes, and I do. I mean, I have to go through it and honestly unsubscribe constantly because I shop online and everything else. Like I don't, I've got the Echo Dot there and everything else. I'm guessing that somebody's listening to what I'm saying, but I could care less what they think. But so I mean, if I'm on Facebook or if I'm searching for something online, I like to take the internet and actually use it for the purpose that I think works out to be good, which is, I mean, I don't look at reviews because that's nonsense. The people that make the shit write the reviews themselves. But I like to go through and find out like which I grow stuff. I got strawberries out back. I want to know which variety of strawberry to grow, and I can do that by looking at what yields and all that kind of stuff in the forums and everything. So I like that. But if I do that, then I know that when I go on Facebook, there's going to be ads for strawberries.
Absolutely.
So, which it turns out that, the big spying thing is because we're idiot consumers.
Exactly.
And that's where all the money's at.
Well, I think you'd be surprised at the amount of, the bulk mailing industry is an industry. They have a ton of lobbyists. So when you see an article pop up online and people are bitching about
And when you say bulk mailing, you mean junk mail.
Yeah, junk mail. So like people, somebody will post, I can't believe they're raising the price of stamps or whatnot. Those are essentially leaked by the bulk mailing. They have a lobby.
Okay.
So they have a reason. We're sustaining them in a non-for-profit entity, and they're a for-profit business.
Yes.
So in that way, also UPS and FedEx, we do a lot of their last mile deliveries. So we're also subsidizing for-profit companies in that way. So a lot of the misconception is, well, the post office loses money. Well, we're losing money, but these other companies are making it kind of on our backs.
Right. And now I'm under the impression, you would know better than me, like if Christmas time comes and you get your Amazon stuff and it's supposed to come UPS or whatever like that, the overflow or like some areas that UPS doesn't go to,
like
I get a lot of my stuff through the U.S. Postal Service.
The last mile, like,
yes.
A UPS truck or a FedEx truck will pull up to our.
So this is almost like socialism
office.
For businesses.
Yes.
Which seems to be really okay with people. Like when Donald Trump says that we need to have, state-run TV, that's bad socialism.
Right.
But when he, when we have the post office and stuff like that, the post office would be more like a public option.
Right, for healthcare.
Right.
So, and the reason why we're the cheapest because we don't have a profit motive.
Right.
Everything we can do can be based on a break-even scenario.
Sure.
Which is poorly calculated because it is an enormous bureaucracy, number one. We have, for every 5 regular postal employees, there is 1 manager.
Okay.
So you have a huge bureaucracy at the top, controlled by Congress.
Right.
They never are accountable. They're never fired.
Right. That's way too much management.
They get moved if they do something wrong in one office. They get moved to another.
What's the pay scale different?
Is
the manager making like?
You're going to make in 6 figures.
Yeah. Wow.
Most, like a postmaster in a reasonably sized office with their bonuses. The next step, a postal operations manager, which manages a group of post office, they'll make $120,000.
Okay.
And on up the chain.
Right. So, now see, that's some of the same issues that go on in the healthcare system because I know a bunch of people that work in the healthcare industry, whether they're nurses, physical therapists, pretty much got to meet them all because I went and broke my neck, and then I get to meet all these people that are in that profession. They are overburdened with so many vice presidents and people that are
administration is everywhere.
Making 3 times as much money as the lady that's doing the nursing, the actual work, of the thing. And that's why healthcare costs. There's a myriad of reasons why healthcare costs are off the charts, and part of them is administrative people who sit there at a desk twiddling their thumb with the vice presidency.
Yeah, we have people in Washington. So all of us have GPS on us now 100% of the time. You're aware of all the Ring doorbells that people have so they can tape in their motion or noise activated. So we're constantly being watched. And so it's people's job in Washington, D.C. to drill down and look at Jerry Poncin's route, how many letters he has for today, how many packages he has for today, and then project a time when Jerry is going to be done, regardless that Jerry's not a robot.
Right. And you're over scrutinized, where the vice president or the administrator.
Well, so I know of one person that has been fired, and it was the guy in Frankfurt, the postmaster in Frankfurt, and it was for it was like a teenage. He was. I don't know if he was groping or grooming teenage girls for sex. So,
right. Nice.
So it takes something pretty. There's people that have stolen stuff. There's people that get caught on camera doing stuff, and that's one of the benefits of the job is it's super secure.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, you better not commit any crimes because with all those Ring doorbells, I heard that there are facial recognition software that's running through everything now. They know where you're at constantly. And like you're hitting the route. How many like percentage wise Ring doorbells? I don't have one.
I would say it's probably getting in the neighborhood of 60%.
Whoa!
And so you're on camera all the time. We just had a carrier, so she was. We're not supposed to wear any kind of earbuds or anything. We're supposed to be out there, which would be impossible to stay awake. But so carrier was on the phone with, I don't know, her sister or something. And, she put a package on her person's porch or whatever and kind of kicked it and then said, called the customer a bitch or whatever.
Oh, nice.
To her sister.
Yeah.
And so it went viral, of course, on Facebook because, for the hundreds of millions of letters and packages that we deliver, the one, if I misdeliver something, that no matter who that person is, they're calling the office that day like it's a, like I've, and I try to explain, we do make mistakes, even though I'm doing the same exact thing every day.
Sure. Yeah, that reminds me of like people that are like all upset about, Burger McFlippyton making $15 an hour. And
I
like,
know.
Dude, I don't even.
Outrage.
Right, I don't even eat fast food like hardly ever. Like, I mean, if I'm in a bind, I'd rather hit Panera and get a salad or something like real food. I mean, I'm like disgusted by McDonald's and all that stuff, but you want to buy your $6, Happy Meal or whatever the hell you're buying with your fructose corn syrup, gallon of that crap and everything else, and you want it to be $6, but you're like upset. It's not even food. Like if they knew what it actually took, I had people like tell me that if they give those people a raise, then their Happy Meal is going to go up in cost. There is no chance that McDonald's is doing like a cost analysis on material and labor for a Big Mac.
No.
It's a total market analysis. You'll spend X amount of dollars before you'll start to bag your lunch.
Right.
So that's what
exactly. Do. So, it's convenience, and people pay for convenience. I don't care what other people make. If you're flipping burgers, you deserve to. I think everyone deserves to make at least a living wage, because somehow we're all supporting the people that don't.
Right, but the same guy that's bitching about the post office is the same guy bitching like that you misdelivered one letter or some shit like that. Is the same guy bitching that he didn't get pickles on his Big Mac, and he still doesn't want the guy to make more than $4 an hour.
I want half as much onions. I want a little extra special sauce.
Right,
and half of a bun.
Right.
And they screw it up, and you're shot like it's like a 5-star restaurant.
Sure. But I mean, they're like pre-bitching that the guy screwed up his meal when, like, I'm looking at him, like, explaining to him, the problem is that this person is working 3 of those jobs because he makes $8 an hour. If you did, like, they're like, and you want $15, pay him $15 an hour, and then if it's fucked up, bitch. Right. But if it's not fucked up after that, maybe you just solved your own damn problem, and then the market analysis is going to come back the same. McDonald's is not going to raise the cost of your Happy Meal. You're still going to get your nasty, gross food that you want to eat.
No, they'll have to make a little less profit in order to pay people.
Right, that's the big hardship that's going to go on.
And so that points me in this direction with, we kind of grew up in the same area, right, with the same kind of people. Like
definitely same economic background.
I would say middle class, solid middle class. None of us were going to school starving or
we went to school with some people that were that I wanted to punch in the head because they were like driving the new Corvette and then they wrecked that and Daddy bought him a Porsche or whatever the hell.
But those same people are the ones that will on Facebook that will go after any kind of reform for fair wages or unions or anything like that. And I find it just really crazy that there's so much outrage from these people that grew up basically in a privileged situation, and now all of a sudden you're mad like somebody's taking something from me.
Honestly, I think those guys, the people that deny that there's white privilege, there's a Louis C.K. Bit where he's like, I'm going to write out this whole white thing. I'm just going to, because I am too. And I think I pissed somebody off one time on social media because someone was like, well, you wouldn't trade to be out of that wheelchair and be a black guy. I'm like, no, I'm sorry, I wouldn't. I know the world, how it goes, and I would not. I'm just going to write out the whole white
You're starting from, you're starting from, I guess I'll do a golf analogy, right? Like, white people are starting from the ladies' tees, and black people have to tee off from the PGA.
Right, and they give them cattails to golf with. Right. We got the nice pink clubs. No, it's completely. I mean, my sons see it. They were freshmen in high school. They're wrestling varsity, and they're like the first time they were going to different schools. And they're like, why do all the black schools suck? Why are all the showers are broken, everything's a mess? And I'm like, well, because the revenue's dependent on the tax dollars that they get from property tax, and the property ain't worth shit in those neighborhoods. So then the school sucks, and
then the charter schools proliferate, and then they go out of business.
Right. Yeah, that DeVos lady would like to.
That's happening. That's happening in Gary.
And the thing is if you think about it, there's a selfish way to spin all these issues that if the selfish person, the guy who's like, I got mine, Jack, you know, go fuck off. If you think about it in the way of like, okay, do you want to live in a society where a bigger portion of the society is uneducated, can't work a job? Like when people bitch about socialism, I'm like, at least you don't seem to understand. When Amazon makes $11 billion in a year and pays zero taxes, you understand that their entire workforce was educated by most of them by the public school system.
Right, and they use the roads,
right,
they use all
right.
the
Well,
police.
they've got way more trucks on the roads than I ever will have on the roads. If anything, it should be progressive where if you made $11 billion, you know, over a span of time, and you paid $3 or $4 billion in taxes, like a person should. Someone like Amazon who's making that yearly, I'm sorry, you should pay 60-70%.
You should. Because
you're using it more.
You don't. This whole generational wealth thing, like when you die, I'm sorry, like for your kids and my kids or whatever.
That's the estate tax.
The accounts should be zeroed out.
Yeah,
it should go to the commons. There's no reason.
Especially if you're a blue collar guy who believes in you need to make it for yourself.
Right.
Then why don't these rich kids make it for themselves? Like, go make it for yourself.
Yeah.
Listen, you've already got I would say the Harvard education is worth less than the connections you make going to Harvard for 4
absolutely.
years. So you've already got that all wired, man. You've got the name, you've got all this other stuff. But if you had $0 starting out, I bet you'd still do pretty damn.
You're going to community college. You're going to JUCO.
Even if you could get through college on your name, everything else that you did. If you did it, it's purely merit based. No, look at the Hollywood thing right now, where those kids were. Those parents were, and they're all saying the kids had no idea. Listen, you know you're a dumbass.
Right,
you know
exactly. But getting back to Amazon just for a little bit. So what's happening now is that, you know, they've done what they always do. They came into the post office. They forced us to do
that's
Sunday.
Another one at the post office.
Sunday delivery. They forced us.
Easter Sunday. I saw a postal carrier today. I'm like, wow.
So they're out there delivering packages, and that's a different classification of worker. It's a CCA, they're called. They are union, but they're considered part-time, but most of the time they work 60 hours a week.
Right. Oh, yeah, right. That's part-time.
But so what Amazon did was very smart. They didn't have their own delivery infrastructure. The post office is the cheapest possible thing. So
absolutely. We
started getting trucks. I think this was around when I started, like daily trucks that were from Amazon, like a semi-truck.
Okay.
So now what they did is they infiltrated and took all the postal infrastructure that we had. They know every route now. They know the delivery times. They know all the stuff.
Right.
How to route the packages. And now they've started their own delivery service. Like you can franchise into it.
Really? For
$30,000, you'll get 10 vans. They say Prime on the side. I don't know if you've seen them or not.
I haven't seen one yet, no.
Well, they're doing it out of Gary, so I see them all the time.
Right, sure.
And so the other day on my route, normally I would get probably 35 to 40 Amazon packages in a day. Last week there was a day I had 2.
Oh, wow.
So what's going to happen now is Amazon is going to pull back all these packages and do it themselves. And then the Postal Service, because they have no plan for the future, is going to be out that revenue.
Oh, wow.
And so they will do something stupid. This is just my prediction.
Yeah.
And they will lease the mailboxes to either Amazon or one of the competitors. And then it will be over.
Oh, really? Right. And then the person that gets hurt in that is the guy who just wants to use regular snail mail for mail.
Right. Because those unprofitable areas will be the only thing the post office does.
Right, and you need to know, but the Amazon has a I saw a whole documentary on how their business model. So if you're a merchant, a guy selling stuff on Amazon, and Amazon watches your analytics.
Oh, this is a story that I can tell.
Right.
When I had the bike shops, we had a tricycle, a Schwinn tricycle that we had sold one Christmas on Amazon, and I think I sold about 600 of them. They were really nice, little Schwinn tricycle. Well, the next year I ordered like 1,500 of them because I was like, this is going to go gangbusters.
Yeah, right.
So it was into November, and I'm like, why are these things not selling? Right. I went on Amazon, and you have my listing, which was $100. And then Amazon had a listing, which was $55. They had sourced the product directly.
For anyone that's listening, the way that they do it is they do a market analysis on how much you're making, and if they see a profitable thing, they come in and they severely undercut you to corner that market. They put you straight up out of business.
That's why I'm a mailman.
Right. So but that's what they're trying to do with the U.S. Postal. They'll put them out of business. The thing is, everyone thinks, oh, that's great because we're going to get it cheaper. Yeah, dumbass. As soon as you're out of business, the price goes back up again, so they can make that profit margin that they were looking to make in the beginning.
Every letter that we don't charge first class postage for is a net loss.
Right.
This whole thing, there was a philosophy for a while that we'll take all this revenue no matter what because the carriers are going out there anyway.
Yeah.
Well, now, all of us are working a lot more overtime than we want to. We normally would have a right to choose to work overtime, but a lot of us are being forced to. It's not that great of a job anymore is the other thing.
Yeah.
With all the gig economy jobs is like Uber and Lyft and all that. People can make $17 an hour, which is what we start at.
Sure.
And they can do it on their own schedule.
Right.
So being outside, I walk 10 miles a day, which is good for me because I can eat and drink whatever I want, usually.
Yeah, a healthy lifestyle as far as that goes.
But the younger kids do not want to do this job.
Right, no.
So
sure.
A large percentage of our workforce is going to be retiring, and we just have to do more work. The people that, have 12 years left.
My big warning to people would be anyone rooting for the Postal Service to go away, you better be prepared for what's going to happen after it's gone. Because Amazon will jack that thing right up.
Oh, yeah.
As soon as it's gone.
They see opportunities. We deliver a lot of medication for people, and it's super cheap for the pharmacies to send it out. So if they had to send it through Amazon, it's going to be more money because Amazon is a for-profit. We are a service.
Right.
We do not have to make a profit. In fact, it's in our tenet that it's break even.
Sure.
Do best to break even.
Right. So if someone was to explain a public option, take it like in healthcare, I would explain it like this. It costs. So I've had people say the things that they did, and it's not. I refrain from saying like dumb because it's not dumb. It's just that you haven't thought it through. So like they'll say stuff like, well, if you have a public option for insurance, all the people who have jobs, all the adjusters, all the salespeople, I'm like, that's not true. If it's a public option, they're still going to market it as a business.
Yes.
They just don't have those couple of CEOs that United Healthcare CEO made $91 million last year. That guy's gone.
Yeah.
So they take healthcare insurance, they do the exact, and I'm not even for a public option. I'm for single payer. And
I'm for more of a Medicare buy-in. Sure. Like when you're younger, it's going to cost younger people more, but have them buy in and then have it gradually decline as you get older.
No, I'm for all the way. I want a single payer, like straight up, just take it out of my taxes. And the reason that I want that done that way is because if you're in a pool for insurance, and the bigger your pool, the cheaper your insurance is. So let's make one pool for the entire country.
Absolutely.
And, have it be paid through the government. The reason I want the government to be the payer is because then the government has the power to say, we're not paying you $18 for an aspirin.
Right.
So
yeah.
Either you're not going to sell aspirin or you're not going to get the money.
Is it the Bayer company or is that the people that made Oxycontin and all?
That's
a whole other.
Yes, right. Those people were straight up drug dealers.
That's who people should be mad at, not
absolutely.
The people that want to have a single payer option or want to have health insurance. I think you or I sitting here, and even if we had some Republican people sitting here, like you just
I want them here.
Have people
I like to
die because they can't afford. I don't think that most of it. There's a couple people on Facebook, and you know who you are. There's some malicey motherfuckers, that's for sure. The people that are like, we don't give a shit if babies are in cages. Right.
Fuck them because they're brown and
right.
all that. Like, you're an asshole. So, why deal with those people? But I think for the most part, people have been programmed to be afraid, to be really afraid. And I mean, it starts now. It starts just with straight up that goofball that's president.
Right.
He just gets up there and says things that are patently false, and he just says them. And then somehow that that gains, because of the office, it gains a bunch of legitimacy, which it's complete nonsense.
And like you and Laura talked about on the earlier episode, like facts are irrelevant to the most people on both sides. I think this may be a very negative and dark view, but I think that he wins again.
I think that there's a good chance that he does, and I think so. For a little while there, I thought maybe he wouldn't run, and I know my buddy Andy was under the impression he won't run, but
that's
now,
possible.
Well, I don't think it's possible now because the Mueller report came out, which again, everyone who didn't read it posted stuff like, "Oh, nothing," because you listen to Knucklehead and his
summary,
his lackey. Well, and then like one guy said something about like yeah, well, so what? Bill, the Barr guy lied. He's a politician. Barr's not a politician. No. Barr's an attorney. He's an appointed position. He's not running for office. That's not right. He's not supposed to lie. It's against the law to lie to the American people. Right. And Sarah Sanders, I think there's 10 times that are in the report where she straight up just lied to the American people trying to protect Trump. The report is actually full of all kinds of things that are really, really awful. This is the reason they've been fighting. What person fights to get something not released when it exonerates them?
Like if his taxes were legit,
he'd have them out there.
He would have them out there because that's what he is. Anything that he does remotely well, he will promote to the end of his days. Mm-hmm. And I think absent of him having a massive stroke, and I think unfortunately, if something happens to him and he dies, I think we are on the precipice of a civil war because it will be conspiracied out where the left or somebody, the deep state took him out. All these crazy people.
So I do not. Right, I'm a big picture person. I like to step back and look bigger picture. I don't want to. I don't care if Donald Trump is reelected or not. I don't. I really don't. Like people, the funniest people that are on Facebook are the ones that are like, ooh, they're all crying and boo boo boo. Dude, I didn't shed a tear. I could care less. First off, never was a Hillary fan. Couldn't care less that she lost. I cannot believe that 3 years later there are knuckleheads that are still saying you're just upset that Hillary lost. I was never upset that Hillary lost in the first place. Trump has been, and this is like me and Laura. And speaking of Laura, like I did that podcast and I wanted to keep it like we're not neutral. I'm not going to be neutral.
Yeah, I'm on a side.
Yeah, I'm on a side.
I would be more of the radical.
Right. But just because I'm on a side doesn't mean that I'm lying.
Right.
I'm not lying for that side.
No, I'm not lying.
No one's paying me to be on that side. But like I did that podcast and I was like, I know that most people are not going to look at that. It is in the analytics of Facebook or YouTube. It's my second most viewed podcast, and minute-wise, people will stay tuned longer to that one.
Well, Laura, we love you.
No, absolutely. I just thought the political thing would not be, like it'd be a third rail sort of thing, and it's not.
Well, it is. It's why I think some of the most popular podcasts out there are political. Politically based stuff, one side or the other.
Sure. And I think that's the problem. Like, I don't want mine to be one side or the other. Andy is super Republican. He says conservative, but I can't wrap my brain around it.
Is he a business owner? Is that
no? He's a union laborer.
That's a dichotomy that I find at the post office a lot, where we do have a large percentage of. Right. Now
Andy's a great guy. He really is. Like,
most of them are not union members.
Right. But Andy's like this terrific guy. He does a lot of work for a hospice benefit. Like, he's a guy who's actually doing things to actively help people and stuff like that. But the news he watches tells him that being a nationalist is okay and stuff like that. It's like they negate to watch the history of being a nationalist and where it went in a lot of places. It went really bad.
Yeah, Andy Hitler might be maybe is where it went.
Well, worst. Hitler, Mussolini, they're all this is all bad stuff. But like Andy would be the one that'd be like the German who was like, well, I wanted Germany to do well, but I didn't know we were doing that sort of a thing. You know what I mean? Like, I don't think Andy's a malicious guy at all. he just, like I said, you're convinced by the propaganda you're listening to that it's okay.
Well,
and I'm not trying to belittle Andy's not even a dumb guy. Like he's, like I don't want to make Trump supporters out to be dumb, because I don't think that they are. I think that they're spending a lot of time thinking, but I think they're spending an even more amount of time consuming a product that makes you think a certain way.
Right. Well, it's like we were talking about earlier before we started the podcast about kind of I posted something about Tim Anderson. We're both White Sox fans.
Yeah.
And the whole bat flip thing, and now how that's become
White Sox shirt on.
Become like now it's become almost the first I posted about it, and I said, baseball needs to have more fun.
Yeah.
They're having a problem attracting young people.
And Bernstein had been saying this for years. That even when the Boston Red Sox were doing it, all their stuff
all
for
the
years.
Beard stuff.
And I'm fine with that. I'm totally cool with. I'm not a Paul Bunyan at all. I can't even wrap my brain around the people that are like they're that are trying to stop things from being different.
I'm pining for the 1920s.
Right. But. They want the NBA when it was all white dudes and everything else. And I'm like, listen.
Yeah, I don't like to see people dunk a basketball. Do you?
No.
It's not fun at
that
all.
And very unathletic white people
or
doing things.
Like defensive football. Sorry, I'm not a fan.
Now, there's, Nash was a completely athletic white dude. There are athletic white dudes. I'm not, being a racist or anything like that. But you cannot tell me that the sport of baseball, the sport of basketball, the sport of football isn't better because everybody's involved now.
Well, the thing with baseball is they want to attract a younger audience to the game.
Sure.
You know how you do that?
The bat flip's awesome, by the way.
One in
like
particular was so good.
No,
and
good.
I wish Tim Anderson had been a better player the last 2 years, but this year
he
turns
is a better
out
player.
to be...
Yeah.
Is
he batting 500 right now or something?
421, I think.
Some crazy.
Ridiculous.
Small sample size.
5 home runs.
Yeah.
He's doing well. And so, but the minute I posted that, I had someone comment, if he was a Cub or whatnot.
Yeah, just looking to jab, trying to get some.
And I said, well, Kyle Schwarber, went off. In a game 2 days earlier, told the umpire, fuck off.
Yeah. Oh, looked like he was going to kill him in the still photos I saw.
Didn't get suspended. Well, that's not the same thing. He said something.
But let's talk about that, because that was a crazy... the dynamic of that situation was... So the article I read on it was that he said...
He's called the white guy the N-word.
N-word, right? You weak-ass N-word.
He is black. I think he's the only black player on the White Sox.
Yeah, and he's like Wesley Snipes black, too. He's not like, maybe he's black. He's black guy. And the pitcher's like, his name's like Parker. So it's like he's like as white as a white guy could be. And I was like, I'm not positive how I feel about that.
I think that's okay.
I would take worse offense to the weak-ass part.
If he called him a cracker...
Yeah.
Still, if he called him a cracker, would that rise to a suspension? It doesn't.
I think I'd love it.
If it were the opposite, and
if
that
someone
white
called
guy
me a cracker or honky, I can't help but smile.
I would dig it.
Yeah, right. Like, you said what? Come on. At least if you're going to call me that, call me Peckerwood.
Yeah.
Because that's the best one.
Yeah, some sort of backwoods, redneck, whatever,
Right, for sure.
But that's the same dynamic that's playing in politics. And it's almost exactly the same, and it's the same people that will get behind, I've seen people on welfare. When I started delivering mail, I delivered in Benton Harbor, which is the poorest city in Michigan.
Okay.
I see the people at the housing projects and the people that are waiting on their checks. And you know what? I'm not trading places with those people for anything. They are not living. They're not living their best life.
No, and I don't understand how somebody. So I don't get into it too much, but I'm considered a quadriplegic. I'm paralyzed from my chest down. My hands are affected, and when I first got injured. It was a big blow, man. My life was going great. I was making a ton of money contracting and everything. And I was obviously still a guy that was with a tool belt on doing a job. So, but I had it wired. It was working out real well. Broke my neck, and I had $1.2 million in hospital bills. My ex-wife at the time, or wife at the time, ex-wife now, signed me out of workman's comp, so I had no insurance. So that was mine to have, this big, huge debt. So, I was approached. There's a caseworker that while I'm in the rehab hospital, because I'm there for 4.5 months trying to figure out how to dress myself and everything else. And the caseworker starts talking to me, and she lays out pretty much that I'm eligible for every single program that exists. I can get food stamps. I can get housing assistance. I can get heat assistance. I can get the wireless companies. It's another one. There's no such thing as an Obama phone. Verizon actually pays for that phone. Their plan in that situation is to give you a phone, get you addicted to a phone, and then when you do get a job, you'll buy a phone.
Right.
That's their program. It has nothing to do with the government. But anyways, I qualify for disability, for everything that you could possibly do. I added it all up, and I was like, yeah, that's not going to work. That's never going to get me to where I want to be in life. So I can't. I never took care of any of it.
Right.
I mean, while I was learning how to put my pants on while lying on a bed with not very good hands, I was getting disability, which is $1,000 a month. That's not enough money to live on either for a person. But that's the extent of anything I've ever collected, as far as I've never had a link card or food stamps or any of that kind of stuff, because it's a trap. The whole thing is a trap. If you get in that system, I don't know if it's maliciously designed to be a trap, but the problem is there's a ceiling where you can't. You can earn money. If you're an able-bodied person, you need to have a job to collect welfare to begin with. But you can't have a job that pays more than $23,000 a year.
Right.
So if you're getting $1,000 a month in assistance to pay for your heat, some food for your kids and stuff like that, and you work at Burger King and you make $22,000 and it is November, well, you're done working now.
Right.
Because if you work that one more month, you're going to make $1,000 in that month, but they're going to take $10,000 away.
Exactly.
Makes no sense. It's a system that should be changed because it stifles people from getting out of that situation.
And then it becomes generational for those people.
Yes, because you can't bridge it. What you need to happen is, they need that situation. They don't need a $2 raise or a $4 raise. They need to double the money that they're making before they can change anything.
And you'll see this too in the housing in some of those places. It's actually above, you're getting $800 a month for a 2-bedroom house that probably would sell for $15,000 if it was on the market.
Right.
But
because in that neighborhood, it's bad.
Yeah, the people that have to pay the $800 are people that are on.
There's another one too. I see people
you're
who are
not getting out of that neighborhood.
But I see people who are landlords in those Section 8 neighborhoods, and they're upset about, the whole welfare situation. I'm like, you're actually predicating your
profiting from this,
from that exact system that's happening. And if you erase that system, like you just said, and you try to rent out your $25,000 place in that neighborhood, you're going to get $300 a month. So what do you want to do?
Yeah, which one do you want?
Right.
The 800 so guaranteed?
Way over market
or the
value.
Maybe 300?
Right. No, so it's very difficult to try and square that circle with a lot of those people. It's very difficult to be like, all right, man, I really can't wrap my brain around what you're saying and how exactly. And the ones that bother me are the ones that are like, suck it up, Jack. Pick yourself up by your bootstraps.
Well, you don't have any boots.
Yeah, you don't have any boots, and you were born without an education. It's all
I
bad.
think there has to be options too, insofar as even in some of the more affluent suburbs. Like let's talk. I deliver mail in Matson. Matson has one grocery store. It's an Aldi.
Yeah. Right.
That makes no sense. But what's happened in Matson is the taxes have been perpetually raised to pay for all the services, and the vacancy just continues to rise.
Sure.
So then you end up, well, why would I move to Matson? Even if I buy a $65,000 house, I'm going to pay $1,100 a month.
I'm a real estate broker, and the taxes are ludicrous out there. The property values are way inflated. Having real trouble with people that want to buy something in there and then can't get their mortgage because the price is way higher than what the bank will lend for the asset. So, no, it's totally understandable. And I mean, I don't want to harp too much on that stuff. It's just like, I would rather have people it seems like if you look at someone's social media and the social media algorithm has figured out that they get way more people on the site if you argue than if you agree.
Yes.
If you see someone's photo of their daughter going to prom, you're like, oh, what a nice dress. I'm glad that Mark's kids are doing well. Everything else, I hit the like button and I move on.
Right.
But then I see the next thing with, some jackass posting some dumb shit about poking at, I don't know, Bernie Sanders or something like that. And it's something completely false.
Someone attacking AOC, which is that's the new.
I know, I love
rage.
that.
I do love it, and I you know what? My daughter is 2 years younger than she is, and I just think if I was her father, I couldn't be more proud of that woman.
I'll tell you what, I'll lay a challenge out there on social media. Find me and you post an actual thing that AOC said that was stupid, and I'll post 2 things that Trump said was stupid.
Yeah.
Fuck it, make it 3. I'll do 3 that are
she
stupid.
is 28 years old, so
she's also a representative from some little district in New York.
Yeah.
She won the one next door to it, too, which wasn't running in. But she's a representative of nobody who's bitching about her.
Right.
And
every time I point that out, I just think, they're afraid she's going to be the president someday. It is. They have to get her. They have to trash her while she's young to ruin her.
Yeah. What's the one I just saw? I want to laugh at them because I like comedy and I think things. When things are funny, I want to laugh at it. Like, what was the one was like something about I can't do that because I don't have crayons or they're just the dumbest thing. Like, she obviously isn't saying these things, but you're upset that this woman made a gaffe about the gaffe that I don't get. She said the three houses of government or something like that. And listen. You can call the Senate the House, the Senate House. You can do that. It's another house of government. It's like a grammatical error that she made, and you're like all over it.
Oh, she's stupid.
She's dumb, right? But you don't live in her district, so what do you care? Mm-hmm. But you do live in the country where a buffoon is president, and you don't care about that.
No one seems to care about that. But it infuriates me because, and every time I will ask,
hamburgers.
Do you live in her district? No, I live in Florida. Okay, well, why do you give a fuck then?
Right.
What's wrong with you?
It'd be like me losing my mind for a 6 months over.
And let's look at some of the representatives in Illinois or wherever. No one's posting shit about them.
No.
And, but I tend to lean, I just think, us Xers, for some reason, never really got heavily involved in the political process. And I do admire that some of the younger generations will actually run and be involved and try to do things to move the needle versus just posting stuff on social media or criticizing people that have achieved
I'm at the age now, I look at my sons and I go, hey, I'm sorry, we fucked it all up, the planets and fucking
we sat back like we do.
But I'm telling you, your generation got to fix this.
Criticized the old people first, and now we're criticizing the younger generation because that's what Xers do. Right.
Well, that's the other nonsense thing, too, that pisses me off with people. They're posting these stupid things with the Tide Pod, kids eating that or whatever like that. To me, that's not a kid issue. That's a parent issue. And guess whose generation's the parents? It's our generation.
I'm so glad there wasn't social media when we were growing up.
Oh my God, the dumb shit. I think I made a living out of doing dumb shit every weekend. Like, remember the dumb shit I did that weekend? Yeah, right. If someone wasn't talking about the dumb shit I did on Wednesday, I was upset.
I didn't think I'd be alive this long.
That was not dumb enough.
Back then.
Right.
I didn't give a fuck because I thought I'll probably be dead by the time I'm 30.
Looking for a laugh, all looking for a good time. I'm sure these kids eating Tide Pods don't think they're nutritious. They're looking for fun.
No, but part of it is some of that affirmation and the attention that they would get by posting that on a YouTube.
So speaking of trying to get a laugh and stuff like that, your podcast, it's to be funny. It's you guys pick topics that are from the 80s.
I would say nostalgia.
Yeah, you did Starman. You did
Starman. We did the Johnny Five movies, Short Circuit. We talk about movies and culture, and then we also throw in some stories like from when we were growing up.
Sure.
Chris and I have been friends since 1985, I think.
Right.
He did not go to Lincoln Way, but we met over the computer at the time. So,
oh my God, at the time.
So, like, I was kind of a computer
nerd. Oh my God, you got to be a nerd to get a computer back then.
You know, you would log on to, like, they'd call it a BBS, and he ran one in Joliet.
Okay.
And so,
nice.
And then you would get together to, like, trade games and whatnot. So,
right. Hey.
So,
but are you doing anything? So, I mean, and I think that, anyone would find it funny, but you find it more funny if you're of our generation. And
I would say stuff. So. Yeah. I mean, my daughter enjoys it because she can say her dad has a douchey podcast or whatever.
Well, but I think you'd be surprised with the way that TV is structured now and all the streaming services. Like, my daughter watched, like, all the Friends.
Right.
And, like,
all
that.
Absolutely.
So, like, some of the stuff you're talking about, like, they're fully aware of Love Boat and all that stuff.
Part of the reason for doing the podcast is escaping some of the stuff that's going on in the world right now. So I try to keep it, like, off topic on purpose.
Yeah.
My partner in it wants to be topical and wants to timestamp everything, and I'm not a fan of that because I think you should be able to pick up on the podcast at any time in any episode and for it to be funny.
Sure.
So we kind of have some differences when it comes to that, but I try to stay away from all politics whatsoever, right. Just because I'm in such despair over it.
Well, yeah, and I'm not in despair. Honestly, I feel great about it. I think that Donald Trump is the best thing that ever happened to the left. My concern is that there's going to be Democrats out there, which I'm not of that party, that are so concerned with getting Trump out of office that they want to pick the most watered down version of a Democrat so they can, and I'm like, you're wasting this opportunity, because I think it's a big opportunity if you have someone that actually has viable ideas that excite people. We just did the other thing last time. We just did where we picked the front runner last time. Pick someone that excites people.
I'm convinced that there's no malleable people left, which I think you would disagree with me on that. I think people have decided, and unless you get them excited about something, that they are going to either vote for Trump again or just vote for Trump because you've got some milquetoast Democrat that's not going to get Democrats excited.
Well, see, my thing is I don't need the Democrats because they're going to vote. They're going to vote for anyone but Trump anyway. So I mean, they're in some respects, and I don't want to offend. I tend to offend everybody. I have just as many people on social media that are Democrats that have blocked me as well. I've got a couple more Trumpsters now that blocked me because they went full out, like, you fucking cripple and stuff like that. And I mean, it's pretty amazing to see someone that I've known for years, go that low. It's like, wow, really, dude? Like, that's all you got? Because I mean, I won this debate, so that's all I got.
Yeah,
but,
or the name calling will eventually.
Which they do that with everybody. But to go after a guy because he, had a construction accident is insane to me.
Yeah, but I see that, and I think it's completely. Once it gets to be a personal thing, I think you just have.
I'm not hurt by it at all. Actually, I laugh because I'm like, you were going down in flames so bad. On the way down, you were like, fucking cripple. You know what I mean? That was your way to try and get me, and I'm like, you didn't get me.
Yeah, or they'll insult, like, they'll look up pictures that I have and insult my wife or my daughter, or, I mean, that's classy. That's super
my favorite
classy.
ones are the ones that are they're not tough guys, never were tough guys, known them for years and years and years, and then they want to,
they want to get tough.
Yeah. I'm like, oh, Jesus, dude, are you kidding me?
I think I told the guy, I'll meet you on the playground.
Yeah, I saw that one. Screwball. I mean, like, and he went right there, too. Like, I don't know what he was doing. Like, why did you even go there? Like, I think his comment, like, 5 before that was, like, he's got all these degrees, or, like, he's really smart. And then he's, like, something about fucking beating somebody. I'm like, oh, good God.
Yeah, here we go. I'll be there.
That sounds real smart to me. Yeah. No, I know. So smart. That's where you went.
But yeah, getting back to the podcast. How did you, like, what was your, I know you talked about it a little bit, but conversationally, I mean, this is awesome. I'm going to say first, and when I listened to the first episode that I listened to was you and Laura.
Yeah.
And Laura, obviously, on a different level than probably you or I would say.
Insofar as and she's super deep into everything. Yep. No, like I said, she's
research.
My go-to on stuff if I'm not like, and there are times where I'm straight up just too damn busy to pay attention to a story that's going on. And I don't want I don't know if me and Laura talked about it, but I don't watch Laura Maddow, but I also don't watch Hannity, because that's a waste of time. Now I will every once in a while tune in for maybe usually about once a week I get about an hour and a half's worth of Fox News in, just to be like, oh, what the fuck? Like, you got to be kidding! Like, this is complete nonsense. Like, it's so debunkable. What's really screwed up about those situations is if you take a look at Fox News, if there's a big story happening, a shooting or the Roy Moore thing with the child molester and pedophile shit, if that's hot right now and you tune in to Fox News and see what they're talking about, you can go right to social media and they are regurgitating it like almost verbatim. That moron said, and you get cancer from the windmill sound or some shit, and every knucklehead's like posting things about windmills, and they're all, if they would just spend 30 seconds with the Google search. The one I liked the most was the ones where, and I saw 7 or 8 of them, so I'm not picking on one person. They were posting that it costs more to make and build a windmill than the windmill ever produces in energy. Complete bullshit. It's complete bullshit. Like, that windmill produces, it's off the charts how much energy it produces out of fucking wind, out of nothing.
I think people have forgotten that there's batteries.
Yeah,
I have a Volt.
Yeah. Well,
I can plug it in at night.
Speaking of nostalgia,
I drive into work.
Do you remember the commercial when we were kids?
Yeah.
The guy at the farmer, they're running in because the windmill's going. They're going to watch the baseball game and the wind stops. And if people don't remember that commercial, that was the fucking fossil fuel lobby putting that commercial out there saying,
exactly,
you need our grid.
So Trump probably remembers that commercial, and that's where it came from.
Yeah, every time he sees an Indian, he thinks he's crying because of trash.
So you started the podcast right around the same time, I think.
Yeah, similar. Pretty much. Yeah, I mean, I put it out there, and you're
probably recorded ours earlier, and ours takes a little bit. I take a lot of time in the production.
Your production value is so much better than mine.
I wouldn't say that, but it does. It usually takes me 2 days to put a show together.
Yeah,
and we do use copyrighted music. And I'm not really worried about it. If we get that big where someone sues us, I figure maybe we'll have some money.
I don't know how that works. I did look at a bunch of... I won't use any copyrighted anything, and I try not to put anything, use anybody else's stuff. I had a couple of people that I had on send me, a video of this music or that music, and I'm like, I'd love to. It sounds like a great song. But if I put that on there, that person would be upset. And, they're doing a good job, so I don't want to take it from them. But... I don't know how it works that if your podcast got, picked up by more and more people and somehow was monetized, the people that you had Motley Crue on the last one.
Right.
I just listened I don't think Motley Crue's going to come after you.
No, I think we can get an ASCAP license, I think, for about $500. So if worst came to worst, I think I would just do that. Because you can have an internet radio station play all the music you want if you buy an ASCAP license.
Well, you can go onto Artlist and pull up stuff. You just got to pay to pull it up.
Right, and some of it is under the guise of initially. I kind of wanted to bookend the show, both ends of the show, with music that relates to the stuff that we were talking about.
And that's my challenge, is to find stuff like that that's not copyrighted. And it's definitely difficult. I spent a lot of time on SoundCloud, looking for that stuff. But I do find ones that are... licensed to commercially modify, so I can change them and do what I want with them. And because I don't put that much music in there, the front and the back usually, and maybe something somewhere in there if there's something that that's related. The YouTube video gets a lot more. I put pictures. I'll definitely put the SoCool podcast up on there and stuff. And the thing with it, for me, the reason I did it, the reason that I was doing it was, I'm 30 years in the housing industry. This is pretty much my adult life. That's what I've done. I was writing contracts for construction jobs and, selling homes when I was in my 20s because we were building them. And I'm doing real estate brokering and general contracting with my sons now. So, I'm in that business all the time. That business... The most adorable real estate brokers. I love them when it's February and it's fucking 5 degrees outside and they're like, the market's so hot and I'm killing it. And I'm like, okay, all right. Like, stop saying like douchey stuff like that. Like,
right.
Actually,
I don't need the hype.
No, I know. Like someone's gonna use you because you're, like you've sold a lot of houses this year, like on a hot thing, whatever. But so in the wintertime, whether we like it or not, and I mean, I got an office that there's 40 brokers out of, and they're all seasoned agents. Some have 30, 40 years doing this job. We all know winter gets slow.
Right.
And I never shut the fuck up, and I'm busy. Like, I got to stay busy all the damn time. I sleep like 6 hours a night. I'm like one of those people that, like, if I go to bed 11:30, at 5:30, I'm like, all right.
I'm a 10 o'clock bedtime guy most of the time.
Right.
I hate to say that because I was never like that growing up. But
no, I can't fall asleep till like 11:30, and then at 5:30 I'm up, so 6 hours, and I need shit to do.
Right.
So I'm like, I looked into what it would be for a podcast and like material wise, and I suggest anyone that feels like that they can.
If you have something to say, it's a very
say it. Yeah, it's good, and get it out there. And here's the other one that I got. Someday I won't be here, right? And I really enjoy my time with my sons and stuff like that. But they're teenagers. We do have, I think, an uncommon relationship where we have pretty good talks about like pretty deep stuff. Where we'll talk about politics. We talk about science. They're super into science. They both want to be engineers. And so we have good conversations. But someday I'll be gone. This stuff is on the internet forever.
Right. Well,
go pull it up.
Like it or not. Yeah.
Like it or not. Yeah, so it's dumb.
I said I jacked off to Mama's family.
I saw that. Which I was perplexed by that, Jerry. I was probably thinking for a little while, like exactly who
black
were
and
you?
White too, right? Black and white TV. But I mean, that's similar. I am, I'm constantly working in a monotonous job where I don't. I'm in the office for 2 hours a day, so I do talk to people for about 2 hours, and then it's, hey, how you doing? Have a nice day, for 7-8 hours.
So you find probably the same way. I find I need to have some contact. Social media is not doing it for me.
There's about 5 things left that I enjoy in my life. So
nice.
and one of them is making people laugh. Like my wife thinks I'm funny.
So are you doing anything? Are you hitting any open mics or trying to do some stand up?
No, I'm being slowly nudged toward that by my brother, my sister.
Oh damn! I'm sure that. I mean, I've had conversations with people that turn into like we just start spitballing on what would be funny.
Right.
And then if the guy died, it'd be fucking hilarious. Like,
right.
You know what I mean? Like just sit down and start like writing some of that shit down and then take it somewhere because.
Yeah, when we first recorded the first couple episodes, I flew out to Arizona, and my friend, he gave me like a book, and he said, just whenever you think of something funny, write shit down. So it's becoming a big book now. But, getting some of that creative stuff out of me, and always, like, I think when I was growing up, like, I wanted to be on the radio. That was like... I think I went to Prairie State for a semester and actually took a radio class back in the day, 1991.
I always wanted to be stand-up. I always did. I'm like, man, I just want to get up there, tell stories, and like, just goof off. And I mean, because pretty much that's what I did in front of my friends. Was just goof on people. Some of the stuff with...
like if you and I were at a party, people would be hanging around.
Yeah, and not a joke teller. Like I don't ever tell like a joke or two.
Formulatic. No. Straight on formula.
Right.
I'm not that. I'm more of a storyteller.
Yeah, that. I mean, I like to fall down and everything else too. Like I mean, and now when I fall down, it's fucking. I need 3 people to put me back up again. But
jeez.
but no. So like some of the stuff with the political stuff. Like, and people don't get it. Like, I'm really just looking for a laugh, and Donald Trump is comedy fucking gold.
It is gold. Those, speaking of podcasts, there's a podcast that I listen to called Crab Diving, and those guys do a daily podcast for 2 hours every single day.
Wow.
And
it's a radio show.
It's a radio show. They were on the radio at some point. They are not on the radio anymore, partly because... I think, all these big conglomerates have bought up all the radio stations, and, the big drivers of ratings are right-wing talk. I mean,
absolutely.
There's no better.
I think that somebody ought to... So I do the YouTube thing because I think people don't understand the podcast thing to begin with. And I wasn't someone like, I listen to a podcast every once in a great while here and there. Like I'd see that Merrill or he's a comedian and he had a show and everything else. But like I listened to that a couple times, and I listened to a ton of Joe Rogan. Yeah, I love Joe Rogan. I mean, him personally, there's definitely some stuff where I think he's an idiot. Like there's like, you're wrong, dude. That's way wrong.
Well,
that's not right.
He had Alex Jones and David Lee Roth on in the same week, which I think is amazing and also terrifying.
Yeah, David Lee Roth is a fucking conniption. Really, he is. I mean, but he was a conniption that I watched every single minute of that podcast, man.
Yeah.
Like just what he was talking about. I don't know what's bullshit and what's not.
I'm not a normal listener to Joe Rogan, but those two episodes with Nutcase Alex Jones and then Nutcase David Lee Roth.
Now with your smart TV, because it's on YouTube, like
you can just pull it up and watch it.
We're in the gym. I throw the Alex Jones one on. My sons are lifting weights, and they're like, "The fuck is this guy talking about? Talking about human mammal? Yeah. Like it just going off nuts. It just as crazy as all hell. And I don't like. So on my podcast, I mean, I have a guy who I talked to him about getting on, and he's flat Earth guy, and I'm like,
hey,
listen, man,
let's talk about it.
I find the flat Earth thing to be a thing that's harmless. Now, the one that I won't do, because I don't want to argue with the person, and I don't want them to be mad. I'm on the fence. Mm-hmm. But the anti-vaxxer thing. Like, if you've got serious points to make with that, I'd like to hear them. I really would.
Right.
My problem is like, it's the same reason, like, I won't go get, like, the absolute worst person that I know on Facebook, which I'm sure would be entertaining to sit down next to, because she's just going to say some of the
you're
most
just perpetuating.
I can't just give them a platform just to sit there and talk.
Garbage,
right?
And even how we don't reach a lot of people at this particular time.
No.
But eventually,
sure.
And then you gave a platform to so and so.
Right. Well, I think,
and that's why I like Joe Rogan with Alex Jones. I just think you already have the #1 podcast on the planet. Like, why are you?
Right.
Why do you need Alex Jones to come?
Well, and if you look at that one, that's part of the reason he had like 14 million views in that thing in like 10 days. It was. Insane.
There's no doubt that Alex Jones is he's entertaining, but it's an act.
Yes, right. He's
a character
under oath saying it's an act.
Yeah.
Like, it's not. We're not saying it's an act. It's an act.
Right.
Like he says
he's
it's
playing
an act.
a character.
Absolutely.
Except because I think there was a guy that used to be on the radio a long time ago, and he did like a alien kind of he would.
Orson Welles.
No.
You're talking about the one with the.
No, he did like a nightly show, and it was. I can't remember what it was, but he would talk about conspiracies like with aliens and abductions
so not,
and
stuff. The one I'm talking about, right? The
War of the Worlds.
War of the Worlds, where they're hyping the movie.
That radio play.
People lost their minds.
But he used to do a radio show, and no one really took it, seriously.
Sure.
But this Alex Jones, like, people think that this stuff is going, like Sandy Hook was a hoax.
Right now, why is it always? Why does it lean right with that?
I don't know.
Like, I don't know any people so I know people on the left that are anti-vaxxers, because that's how we got here. We're just talking about that. And, like, some of them, I think they're great, like, terrific people. And I'd like to, like, I want to sit down. It's almost like I don't like to do it, but I'd like to have a pre-conversation with them about what they're going to say, because, when you say stuff like that it leads to autism, it's a fact that it does not. Like, there are plenty of scientists out there that have done plenty of studies that are not. They don't work for the vaccine companies that have proven. I guess the MIT's got a thing coming out now that they're actually isolating genes, not that are autistic genes, but propensities to be autistic.
Right. Okay.
And if you're exposed to maybe some chemical while the baby's in the womb, or some conditions that maybe it promotes that gene more, or something like that. So, like, I have spent, obviously that's an alarming situation when someone says that. So I spent some time researching it, like looking at people that have degrees, and no reason to lie. And it's not a thing. Like, there's no connection to it at all. So I couldn't just let someone sit there and say that without me saying no. And then I don't want it to devolve into an argument. Like, I don't want to do that with the person.
Well, part of it is because you can present information on the internet in a very professional way to where it looks like it could be true.
Sure.
If you are unwilling to go past that first.
Right. Did you see Behind the Curve?
No.
Oh my God, man! If you get the opportunity, it's on Netflix.
Yeah.
Behind the Curve. Oh, it's so awesome.
But you can present this information to people in such a way to where they can perceive it to be legit if you just look at that first page and you don't do any research beyond going to that link off of Facebook, you could be like, oh my God, did you hear? And then you get an older person who gets on the phone with Marge down the road and says, did you hear that people are getting autism from vaccines? And then it just perpetuates. And I think, like, I see a lot of this, and what people don't realize, I think on the Democratic side of it, is that Republicans, they know how to speak to the older generation, and those people vote. And
they've got
when I deliver people's mail and I see every day there's a lady that's probably in her 80s on my route, and she gets about 50 promotional mailers from Trump, from every Republican representative, and some of them have like dollar bills in them, so that they don't throw the mail away. And there's no Democrats that are marketing to older people like that.
No, and I mean, don't want to say anything negative about older people, but they're much easier to con. You know what I mean? Like then they're also better at being conned and not saying anything because they're embarrassed that they got conned.
I mean, my dad's older, and he is absolutely scared of everything.
Yes,
he doesn't want to go to Chicago. This is a guy that was, when I was growing up, he was a fearless man. He would do whatever.
Sure.
And now he's, you can't go into the city. You're going to get shot.
Which is not true. I mean, if you honestly know, like if you look at I love the things that are twisted too. Like, the old saying is, figures lie and liars figure. That's the truth. But you can twist anything the way you want to, but you can't twist things like the per capita. So like when you look at the murders per capita, that is your odds when you go to the city. So if 1 in 100,000 people gets shot somewhere and you go to the city, that means that's your odds. You're 1 in 100,000 to get shot. St. Louis, you have a far more greater chance of getting shot than you do in Chicago.
Right.
New Orleans.
I think Rockford might even be.
Oh yeah, there's the smaller the town, it goes up even further. So less people, and then then they don't even take into equation some town that's got 400 people in there and 2 people get shot. Now the per capita is 1 in 200.
Right.
Holy shit! If that was the per capita in Chicago, like millions and millions of people would be getting killed. Well, there's only a couple million people in Chicago, but it'd be way more people. So
yeah, are there dangerous areas in Chicago? Absolutely.
The other one,
big city.
The other one that drives me nuts is the people that say stuff like the Electoral College. It's so much more fair because the Electoral College is there, and I'm like, that makes no sense at all.
It's not.
No, it's not.
If you believe in democracy, which is essentially the majority.
Oh, that's
the majority rule.
There's almost too much. Right. Bill? Well, but it's almost we do live in a republic, but it's a democratic republic.
Right.
They leave out the democratic part because they think it has something to do with the parties. It doesn't. Those are just 2 cute clubs that are fucking you, both of them.
Right.
So, but the thing is like, why would a rural person who lives in Wyoming's vote for the president of the country be worth more than the vote of a guy who lives
5 times more?
Oh, it's way more. I think there's
18 times more. Something.
There's 40 million people in California. They have 2 senators.
Right.
There's 650,000 people in Wyoming. They have 2 senators.
Right. And that's
overrepresented.
And that particular body is the one essentially that ends up controlling everything.
Yeah, and the other people that like look at the news that they watch and they come away with, we're the majority, and we are, we're win every election. Any election we're losing is rigged. You're not paying attention to who votes, who doesn't vote,
right?
And the fact that, listen. The Senate is set up that way, like I just explained, where 650,000 people vote for 2 people that are in the Senate, and 40 million people vote for 2 people in the Senate. The 40 million are voting for the 2 that are more liberal leaning,
right.
And then the 600,000 are voting for 2. An equal representation. and you're barely winning the Senate. You've got like 2 or
Right.
3 more senators. So don't tell me that the country leans right. It does not
or
lean
those
right.
maps that have like the red
Yes,
and
right.
blue on
If blades
them.
of grass just voted, it'd be great.
I mean, it'd be
nonsense.
geographical areas.
Right.
I wish mountains could vote because
I had someone tell me, why wouldn't Wyoming have just as much? I'm like, Wyoming's not a thing. Wyoming's a state.
yeah, like
it's an imaginary line.
in the city
Right.
of Chicago, right?
Wyoming's not what I'm concerned about. Wyoming, the people that live in Wyoming, they should have the representation
Right.
that they should get. But it should be equal to the guy who lives in Chicago.
It gets back to me too. I almost think there should be mandatory. You have to vote. Like I think that. I mean, no one is ever going to agree to that, but I think if we're going to have
I don't want
democracy, everything.
I don't want anything mandatory.
Right.
I want you to make it as easy as possible, though. I think we should all vote from our phones
or from computer,
whatever. And I get people that argue that one, and it's
going to be hacked.
Yep, they've been scared. It can be easily made impossible to hack. You
Bitcoin,
do it,
like a blockchain.
Do it distributed ledger.
Yeah.
Spread it out everywhere, and you'd have to hack everything all at once to do it. You can't. So it's easily there are a bunch of
all of this technology that we're using. It's like the technology that we use at the post office. It was like 20 years old when we got it, 5 years ago.
Right.
And the voting machines, all of that technology, the stuff that we use in banking, the automated clearinghouse stuff, that's all like still on like 1990s computer software and stuff.
Right. It's terrible. It's awful.
So if you think like if you believe that, well, does anyone hack the banks? Well, I don't know because they wouldn't advertise that probably.
Right.
But if you believe that that's not getting hacked, then how hard is it to believe that we could all just vote?
Right. We could all we certainly should all just vote, and everybody should vote. I know there's lots of people out there that even talk politics on Facebook that don't vote.
Oh, yeah.
Drives me nuts.
But you don't have any right to. I mean, you can criticize, I guess, but if you're not voting,
people who don't vote, I don't know what you're criticizing about. The people that I know that don't vote are the people who always claim that there's tons of in-person voter fraud, and I'm like, if you ever voted, it's not a thing.
Did you post that where it's like if a different Bill Geithner came in 20 minutes earlier,
and people don't get it? They think I'm buying a loaf of bread.
Yeah,
I'm not.
I vote. It's a block and a half from my house.
Right. I love the ones that they bust them all in. They bust them all in. They're from Chicago. They bust them into Peoria to all vote. I'm like, it doesn't work that way. Can't vote outside your district.
Are those the same people that are the Chicago separatists that want like the rest of Illinois to separate from Chicago?
Let's build a wall around that. Okay, you know what? Monetarily, that's not going to work either because most of the freaking money's made right there in that little spot. So you're going to be one big poor podunk country or state.
I guess you could go and attach yourself to Iowa or whatever.
Right. No, none of that stuff makes a lick of sense. But I mean, back to the podcast thing.
Yeah.
I mean, social media is a powerful thing as far as getting people. I don't think I know anyone outside social media that's listening to this podcast. Like most people are from social media, and if you got yourself 15 minutes of stand-up to go do somewhere, I guarantee you we could get 30, 40 people there. Absolutely.
Well, you got to make sure that we pay them to laugh. Too.
Yeah, right. Hey, if they're all in your camp already, I'd like nothing more than to see somebody succeed.
It's a very, for me, the comedy stuff is like all I'm doing on that podcast is making myself laugh. And like I said before, and if I can make my friend Chris laugh, and the ladies that we have on the show, if I can make them laugh, then it's a win for me.
It's not an easy thing to do either. I mean, like I've definitely been out for beers with no microphone, no headphones on, and laugh.
Right.
And then there's times where I've got the headphones on, I'm like, man, what would be funny? And I've got nothing. It's like boom.
Right. And it's a struggle sometimes for me. I kind of suffer from anxiety. Depression sometimes. I know we all kind of go through that.
Sure.
But to be able to do that, you kind of have to separate yourself, and I'm not always in the mood to make a connection, and some of that stuff just gets thrown out.
I would say some of the stuff with the depression thing, I post a lot of things in there. They're all sincere on Facebook too, and it's sincere towards anyone. The person I think that is the most awful person on Facebook for me, she's a woman and she's just awful. And I don't unfriend her because I want to see like, oh my God, this terrible stuff that she's so awful. Like, holy cow! Like, I almost think to myself, like, I almost feel bad for her. Like it must be just a really bad time. Everything must be bad. And what's really cute is the little trolley dudes that want to like hit on her because they think she's lonely or something, right? Well, they're agreeing with her and like everything else, and I'm not there for that. I'm certainly not there. God, sex with her would be a fucking nightmare, but it would be. Oh God, and the thing you said about fucking her, terrible. But I feel like I would like to like just sit down with her and like because this thing where you want Democrats to be the thing that kind of shakes me a little bit is when I see someone wearing a shirt that like I'd rather be in with the Russians than Democrats. I'm like, whoa.
Well, we all have to live together, right?
Yeah.
Like we're all Americans, and so getting along has to be a basic part of what we do. And the more disconnected we become, and the more we argue on Facebook, like I've unfriended people have unfriended me. People that I, like we talked about earlier, like I grew up with them, like they were like, we rode bikes together. We did all like, over and not unfriended me because of something I did to them or something they did to me. It was because of a political,
right.
And there are kids that grew up definitely more privileged than I did that are so angered by being wronged by black and brown people, I guess.
Yeah, I think sometimes not even like they weren't wrong. They just like they saw the race baiting video of like, and it's always misconstrued too. Right. They had one where there was an immigration thing and there were a bunch of Mexican looking people doing something, and it turned out that it was like some riot in Spain. It wasn't even here.
But like you just think about it, and I'm like, these are the same kids like when Michael Jordan was playing and he would hot dog and show people up all the time or whatever, and they're like, it's Jordan. He can do whatever he wants. Okay, well,
sure.
So now it's different because
somehow that guy transcends being black. I mean, Cosby was the some of my favorite ones are that. Like, I love that. I downright love that. I don't remember like 7 or 8 years ago, there were constantly these right-wing memes that were put out with Bill Cosby telling black people to pull their pants up.
I do clean comedy, which he was talking about Eddie Murphy at the time. Right. And I despised him then, and I didn't think he was funny then, and I still hate him.
I thought he was funny. I used to love to watch Himself and all that. Right. Like when I was a kid, like I thought those were like they were clean and everything else. I definitely liked the Eddie Murphy stuff better. Yeah. But I mean, and Eddie Murphy's thing on that was like, tell Bill to have a smile on the coke and shut the fuck up.
That's how old we are.
Right. But and then now I can't. The guy's a monster. Mm-hmm. I mean, you are just drugging women to have sex with them, which is another one.
When you probably could have had sex with them anyway.
Could have had sex with them anyway, and then I can't wrap my brain around men that would want to have sex with a woman that was inebriated. Right. It doesn't make any sense to me.
It does not.
The whole part of sex for me is, part of it's the conquering part. I want to make a woman mine, but like mentally,
you're making a connection.
Right, but I mean, I want it to be mine of her free will, not because she's inebriated.
Yeah, I want to
like,
be.
I've got her now, man.
I'd rather be chosen than.
Yes, right. That's what I'm saying. Like I want free will.
I don't want that arranged marriage stuff.
No, right. And I mean, I've always had like Bill. I couldn't even. So like, I walked around the earth and always did a fine job with women. I had no problem with that, and I think part of it was that I talked. So like I talked, and out of my friends I was like one of the only guys that could actually dance and stuff like that too. So like I had a rap.
You were not afraid to express yourself.
No. And I was out there at the Mohawk and the whole thing. I was definitely not afraid to express myself. I was a spectacle. So like I did just fine. I couldn't imagine if I had everything going for me and I was rich and famous.
And funny. Funny guys get laid.
And this guy so I saw a thing that there were guys talking about maybe 30 years ago that was a more acceptable like operating system. Like
I don't know.
Well, you hear people about like someone getting slipped a Mickey and stuff like that in the old movies.
That is true.
And I don't know if that was a thing.
You know, I did just listen to a podcast. It's called Disgraceland, and it's about, you know, it's got like rock and roll stories on there or whatever. And they were talking about the Grateful Dead. It did a show at a Playboy club, I think, and it was on TV. And they dosed everybody in the club before they did the show. So they put LSD in the coffee, and I thought, that doesn't seem like it's appropriate.
No, not at all. Not at all. No.
So you've got all
I've never done acid,
like
and I'm not
Brill Cream guys, and they're
right,
50-year-old guys or whatever, and they're all high on acid watching the Grateful Dead, which I thought was incredible. But you may be right that socially, like what were the pills that you could get like back in the day? Didn't the Beastie Boys talk about them?
I don't know, roofies and Mickeys and stuff.
No, but it was like. It was some sort of pill that you were supposed to be able to give a Spanish fly.
Yeah, no.
Spanish fly.
Something,
I think
stuck a monkey in the cup.
Yeah.
Well, that was Brass Monkey, but what was the...
There was something where the girl theoretically would...
Get horny,
which I don't...
Now, I'll tell you what, that's the thing for me, right? Like, I don't get it. Man, I'm 47 years old, maybe just an old guy or whatever like that. But for me, the sexiest thing that a woman can do is when she lifts her ass off the bed so I can take down the pant. Like,
right.
Obviously, like, we're working together for this same thing, and it's working out good. But, like, if you're Bill Cosby and you, like, gave her the drugs and you got to, like, roll her over and get the,
Doesn't seem to be a turn on
like, wow,
me,
dude, you're missing the whole point here.
I don't know. No. But, yeah, he is definitely a monster, and then the Louis C.K. stuff is super bizarre.
Louis' stuff is bizarre, but I'm still in the camp of like I like Louis C.K. I really do. The comedy's hilarious, and he did a bunch of things where he never touched anybody. I mean, granted,
it's very inappropriate to jerk off in front of someone without their permission.
Yes,
I think you should get a permission.
But that's like the dick pic thing too. Like, I don't get that. Like I
don't get that. I've never sent a girl a dick pic.
If you're a woman and you're remotely, I don't even know if you have to be remotely attractive to get like, I've talked to some women that like, because I think that's the difference between some guys too. I actually like women. Like, I mean,
right. I met my wife online.
Okay.
My current wife.
Yeah.
And she would tell you if she was here that I was I wrote her like a big, 10 paragraph like letter or whatever. I thought, she had a really tight White Sox shirt on and a foam beer hat, and I thought, that's my lady right there.
Sure.
And so I wrote her like this big, I like to write stuff, so I wrote her this big, message or whatever, and she's like, it's one of the only messages that didn't have a dick pic in it. So like, I was like, I'm gonna give this guy a chance. But she's like, yeah, you would be shocked. Like, guys, she's like, why do guys think we want a picture of their dick? And I think part of it is probably that guys are more visual, I think, with stuff.
Yeah, I mean, I'm never upset when someone sends me a picture of their vagina.
No, I've never, I mean, I don't get them all the time.
Oh my God, I got one. No, I get some that are mistakes, I think, sometimes.
Really?
I got one where it was a woman and she sent me like 2 nude photos of her, like, in the bathroom sort of thing. And the phone number was from like a Manuka phone number, right? And I'm like, all right. So I look at it and I typed, it was in a text. I typed back, wow, you must work out. She goes, well, I do. We met at the gym. And I'm like, I don't know you. She's like, this is not Adam. And I'm like, this is not Adam.
Nope.
She goes, fuck my
Bill
life.
Geigner.
Yes, right.
Here's my address, by the way.
And then I sent her a picture of me. I'm like, well, this is actually me. And she goes, well, here's another. So she sent me more naked ones.
Oh, shit.
And I was like, what the hell? So I'm like, all right, I'm out of here. And I thought it was going to be like I get a bunch, I don't know about you, but I get catfishing ones on Facebook constantly.
Really?
I posted something not too long ago. I get halfway nude women. I get women that want me to give them my phone number so they can text me, and then they want me to go to their website and they pay, whatever, it's a couple of dollars an hour or a minute or whatever. And then the best ones are the Facebook profile that sends you the message, and they're like, it's all broken English. It's like,
right.
I do love having the sex. Do you like the sex? And I'm like, the sex of what? What the fuck are you talking about?
Russian guy.
But no. If you go to the profile a lot of times and you start scrolling down it, it's only maybe like 3 or 4 months and you get to like an Indian dude.
Oh.
It like totally changes into like something else. Like I don't know what's going on here, but I'm like, wow, dude. I posted the whole conversation.
Yeah, I saw that.
Yeah, I was like, what the hell?
But it's crazy to think.
But we're dudes and we get that. What are women getting? Because it's like gotta be way out of line.
Exponentially worse. Like you never want to see like one of our high school friends that's a girl put like that they're having problems in their marriage, because it will bring every Lincoln Way douchebag out.
I don't want to see either one. I don't want to see. I don't want to see how wonderful your marriage is.
Right.
And I don't want to see how great your relationship is either. Because the ones I always see, these ones where like the marriage is the greatest thing, and all of a sudden they're divorced.
Yeah, it's like 2 days later, it's like, oh fuck that guy.
Yeah, that's not the information that like I don't know. Social media, like.
So are you on any of the new Lennox groups? Because they are particularly
just
interesting. Like a lot of racism. Like, because my sister lives in New Lenox, and she'll show me like some of the neighborhood, because they have these like little neighborhood groups on there, and it's like it is something that I never knew about our. We had Ray Rodriguez was the Mexican kid, and we had Pat Michaels and his brother, and that was the two black kids.
Yeah. And we're like a little bit before the time of wiggers. Where like there wasn't that many white kids trying to be black when we were kids. But like maybe
it
5
didn't
years younger
seem
than us.
that it was that anyone in school was racist to me, even though potentially our parents probably.
Yeah. No, I would say that my
parents were.
Yes, mine too.
Or still are.
Yeah. My dad's super liberal, so I mean, he was, which is a weird dichotomy. He was definitely racist. Grew up in Calumet City, like in the south side of Chicago, so super racist situation there for as far as I go. And I think that's generational. My son's absolutely not. Like
my daughter and my son. It's not
right, but they still have friends at school that are.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, my wife sees it. She teaches in Portage, Indiana, and she's, it is. She's like, it is out front. Like some of the, and that is a very mixed school. So you would think it would be more tolerant.
Yeah, you're
but
right there.
It's become tribal there. So.
I
like almost like prison.
I sort of get it. Yeah, right. Well, prison's like that because you need safety in those situations. And I mean, I get that. And then like. Even like the guys with the concealed carry and stuff like that, like like I said, I'm not trying to piss anyone off.
Right.
But when I see a guy that's got a gun on him all the time, I just think he's afraid.
Right.
Like I'm like, and he obviously is. Like that's what you're doing.
Like in high school, I guess you could just equate it to like you usually hung around the people that kind of were more like you. I mean, I kind of vacillated all around to stoners and jocks, and I kind of tried to. I was more of a partier, I guess.
I think I just was looking for a laugh all the time, and sometimes I came off. I had a guy at a high school reunion go like, "Man, I was so afraid of you." And I looked at him like, "For what?" And he said, "You were just like raw all the time." And I'm like, "Yeah, but like like in a goofy like."
It's kind of the wrestling thing.
Yeah, just
all
having
the
fun though.
All the wrestlers were kind of
But I mean, football. We were all just like rambunctious doing stuff, and we probably made fun of some people and stuff like this. But this guy was like. He was like pretty much like you were my nightmare, and I was like I don't believe I was anyone's nightmare. I mean, you grew up with me. I was not a guy that was like ever like chasing anyone around. Like I don't stick you in a locker or anything like that.
No, I think probably by junior year though I wasn't really afraid of anybody at that point because I had grown and but when you're that freshman it's. I think I weighed 100 pounds probably when I was a freshman.
Oh yeah, I was the same. I was the same. I was a little guy. I was probably like I think I.
And luckily for us, we didn't have to deal with juniors and seniors, and because we went to East, so it was just us freshmen and sophomores from Frankfurt Square and.
Yep, I liked everybody. I really did. I liked everybody when I was in school. I think you live in that world where when you think someone doesn't like you, then you just immediately don't like them, so that you're not being. But like in girls, God, I spread myself around with the girls. Like some of my favorite girls were the religious girls. Like I mean, those girls were, not, they're religious sometimes, but not all the time. No. So they were just fine. But so yeah, I don't understand how that changed.
Right.
Here's one that perplexes me.
All these people that I thought they're nice people, we get together, we have fun, generally the people that I hung around with and you probably hung around with, definitely not mean-spirited. We wouldn't make fun of someone like in a visceral, like a mean way just to attack them. They would
I had a couple of buddies that did. They were jackasses. I mean, they would pretty much had a nickname for everybody, and they were ripping on them. They were
Yeah. So I guess but that's probably high schools everywhere.
Yeah, cliques and all that other stuff.
But I just think some of the people have changed in a way that I don't understand. The
only thing I can equate it to is the amount of. I think when you get older, you're looking. It's like looking in the fridge and there's nothing there. And you keep looking in the fridge and nothing there. So what you do is you turn the news on, and they sensationalize everything. So like the news is a 24-hour zone of how can we keep you watching this? So we've got to make every single thing a bigger conspiracy,
and it's
bigger.
Like the weather is sensationalized. Every single thing is sensationalized. So yeah, you're getting some dopamine from that, probably.
Right. Well, that also they need that confirmation, affirmation situation where they're.
I always thought that was true.
Yes, right, and they need to have that. So and no matter what happens, the Barr report. That's a perfect example of what went on. Now, or the Barr summary. This guy came out with a 4-page summary of a thing that was 400 pages. You could not possibly...
And then they delayed it long enough to where by the time they released the Mueller report, everyone's on to the next thing.
Well, yeah, but all the people that were looking for it to be one way, when they got the 4-page summary, were like, told you, nothing. And now that even the redacted, and I mean, I cannot even imagine. I saw a picture of the entire report laid out. There's a good portion of it that's redacted, and sometimes it's 3/4 of a page is gone. It's not in there. They're given reasons and everything else, but I think there should be a council of 30 people that should be able to, from both sides of the aisle, see the unredacted complete report.
Right, but I'm not convinced that anything would be done about it because I mean, you can tell me that all you want, that if the Democrats are in charge of the Senate, that they're going to do something about what he's doing, and quite frankly, I don't have any confidence in that.
Well, I don't want him.
And even if that Mueller report said, yeah, he did it, he, had Russian help, and I'm convinced that he may not have had Russian help. He definitely had money.
Yeah, but
he definitely got money.
To me, was not a. For me, that wasn't an issue. I didn't care about that. I cared more about the obstruction of justice stuff and the fact that he runs everything like a mob boss, sort of thing. And I find it comical and funny that he had a whole mess of crimes he would have liked perpetrated, but the people that he told to do them didn't do them.
Right, exactly.
That's fucking... You're the president of the United States. That's insane.
In government, I mean, you can see how far the corruption... he appoints people to destroy the agencies that they're heads of.
Absolutely.
And then they just grift them for as much as they can get out of them until they have to resign.
These are the people that are supposed to be the party of personal responsibility.
Right. Oh, law and order too.
The guy bought a $50,000.
All the police unions.
But he bought a $50,000 soundproof telephone booth to sit in so he could talk to people without anyone hearing it. And then what was it? The brain surgeon dude that's always looked like he's falling. It looks like he's falling asleep all the time. I mean, he's a comic. Oh my God, he's hilarious just to begin with. But he bought some $30,000 worth of furniture for his
a dining room table for his office. I'm like, you have a big enough office, you need a dining room table? That's crazy.
And these people are so there is a double standard because you're the party of conservatism. You see, you're the party.
That's where I don't get this. If you're going to be that, be it. If you're going to be the party of law and order and
but the minute that someone gets out of line in your party, you should be the first one to stand up and say, "Hey, I voted for you, you son of a bitch.
We are not giving tax cuts. We don't have enough money.
Well, the tax cuts thing, that's part of their whole, thing, which I disagree wholeheartedly on the way that they do that. And I saw a statistic that there are twice as many companies since the tax scam that those guys put up there. And Trump's got very little to do with it. He's just the face of it.
He doesn't care.
He doesn't care. He just wants people to like him.
He wants to
votes.
win.
Yes, he wants to be a two-term president.
Passed. Yeah.
Exactly. But there's twice as many companies. There's 60 Fortune 500 companies that paid 0 federal taxes last year. And before the tax thing, there was only 30. So 60 corporations that are making billions of dollars paid nothing into the system. If you're a conservative, how are you squaring that circle? How are you? Well, they are. They're saying to themselves that it's all okay because it's tax breaks, and tax breaks somehow create jobs. Listen, what creates jobs is demand for product.
I want to have a meeting with the job creators because they're not doing... I don't think they're doing a great job because
they'll point to the unemployment rate and everything else, which that's got.
If you have to have 3 jobs though to live, there's very few jobs out there that you can call careers anymore that you can get started at a young age. So this is how old the guy that I work next to in the morning. He went to Lincoln Way, and I was like, "Hey, Jordan, when did you graduate?" He's like, 2011. I'm like, wasn't that like 2 years ago?
Yes, 2000.
I'm like, good for you. You came in here, hopefully at the right time. The post office will stay alive until you retire. I hope. You picked a really good, because we're federal employees, so we do get all the benefits. We have really good insurance. We have really good retirement if the agency survives.
Now that's another political hot button issue that I'd like to get somebody on. Like I'd like to get they'd have to know something about it because I don't really like to put people down that don't know anything about anything. Like talking to you about the post office is a good thing to do because you're in there and and you're politically minded where you probably pay attention to that stuff. But there's going to be 5 million truck drivers that are going to be out of a job in the next 5 or 10 years.
Is that the automated
situation, which is going to be, there's a lot of jobs, even the real estate broker thing. Now listen, I know that what I do is worth money. I'm positive. I mean, I can point to and show you clients that if they would have done their own deal, Jackie, who I had on, there was $3,500 on the table, and the other agent was like, well, we can't do anything about it now. We're like, well, bullshit. We're doing something right this minute. And Jackie's getting that $3,500.
Right. And
she did. So we had 10 days to go till we closed. And then Jackie got a big surprise that she got $3,500 extra dollars back from buying a house. That would not have happened if you didn't have the right people in place to do that job. So that's just a direct money in her pocket situation. But that job, if my sons were like, well, Dad, we like the housing stuff and everything else, why don't we get our real estate licenses? I'd be like, well, no, I don't think that job's going to exist 30 years from now because the internet and everything else that's going on. I don't think it'll exist, and I don't think it'll exist at the level that it is now.
You have that. You have truck driving, car sales. I spent a good amount of time in that business.
Right. Well, they're talking about making a whole McDonald's
vending machine that I saw in Arizona, and I think they're building one out here at Carvana. And I did, it intrigued me because it's a vending machine that has cars in it. It's whatever.
Yeah.
But I did go on their website, and you could literally buy a car in 10 minutes
and not deal with the person
and show up there, pick it up. You do everything online.
Hey, if the car's cheaper, I'm all for it.
You're not
find another job, figure it out.
I mean, that's the thing. So it comes to, you're going to have to evolve into a profession that, physical stuff, even the stuff that we do, the delivering the packages and stuff. Eventually, you will have, self-driving delivery vehicles.
Seems to me that if they just reorganize the depository at the residence, they could absolutely have. I mean, the garbage man's pretty much automated nowadays. The guy just drives up, picks it up, throws it in there without that could be self-driving.
If you had all the same standards for every mailbox, you could have a thing. Go out there and deliver the stuff.
And then, so I ran a construction company for a bunch of years, And I liked my employees. I liked the lifestyle. I liked on Friday, I give the, one guy $25. He goes and buys 2 cases of beer, and we sit there and we drink the beer on the Friday evening, the 5 or 6 of us. That was the lifestyle that I liked. I enjoy the camaraderie of having the guys. But honestly, if someone said, hey, I got a magic wand, you can still make $165,000 this year, and you'll have no employees, I would take it in a minute. Just because these are the headaches. These are the things that the guys that don't show up on time, the guys that, get hurt, the guys that break shit, everything else, all gone. I still make the same amount of money, and I got less headaches.
Right.
So every company that's out there is totally ready to be without employees. What do we do when 30 million people are out of work?
Right. I don't
know if you've seen Andrew.
They could start a podcast.
Did you? Right, but did you see Andrew? Yeah, you can't make any money at it. So.
No, I'm losing money.
Absolutely, me too. But have you seen Andrew Yang, the candidate for president that is he's running on UBI?
For the UBI, yeah. I'm familiar with that, and I think it's a certainty that will have to happen, or you're going to have a lot of civil unrest, because when you take one of the things that I do enjoy with my job is that there is some sort of satisfaction with the physical work.
Yep, sure.
It's a very physical job. The truck's full at the beginning of the day. It's empty at the end of the day. I can clearly see that I've done something, even though it's horribly monotonous and probably pointless.
It's exactly what I love about construction.
Yeah.
I showed up today. There was a pile of lumber. That was a building.
Right. You're building something. You're creating something. In my case, I'm getting rid of a bunch of garbage and delivering it to people.
Yeah.
But there's a certain... Yeah. So when you... Even with the universal income, if you take that sort of dignity away from creating or a hard day's work, I just wonder how that manifests.
I do. My first thoughts on it, we're both supposed to be, tree hugging liberals.
Right.
But my first thoughts on that's insane. You can't possibly hand people that money. But then when you start delving into the numbers so productivity in this country has skyrocketed in the last 30 years. It just keeps going up. Productivity keeps going up. But wages pretty much are flat as far as what people make. And when you look at automation, people don't look at automation the same way. They think automation is just the arms in the car factory making the car. That's not what automation is. Automation is anything that makes the job faster, better, quicker with less employees. We used to do a lot of roofing. We'd be on a roof, doing a roof, and when I first started on a roof, and the guy that I worked for, he was cheap. He would steal the hammers from Home Depot, for us to hammer the nails down with. He was not buying anything. So hoses, compressors, guns, no way. So we were up there with the pouch, with the nails. We're pounding every single nail there. Boom, boom, boom. There's 6 guys on the roof. I started working for myself. I went out and I bought the compressor, the guns, and everything. I could get more done with 3 guys than we could get done with 6 guys with the guns and the compressors. So it cost, the initial upfront cost was more to buy the guns and the compressors, but I was no longer paying the guys. I was no longer paying the workman's comp for all the guys, and no longer worried about whether he was going to show up or not. If I needed, if a gun broke, I go buy another gun. So that's automation. That raises production. But did I go out and spend $1,000 on compressor, guns, and hoses, and then give everybody a raise? No. They all stayed the same, but now you got guns. And I'll tell you what, the employees were like, look at us, we got the guns. This is awesome. They thought it was great.
But you're doing more work.
But Stan and Phil just lost their job because we don't need them anymore.
Well, it's kind of the same thing with, at the post office, they have some automated stuff with sorting the mail. So we get it. It's supposed to be into a large percentage.
And obviously, that was all done by a person at one time.
Yeah. Well, it used to be you'd be in the office for 4 hours, and then you'd be on the street, as they call it, so delivering for 4 hours. So it was an 8-hour day. Now it's more like I'm in the office for an hour and a half, on the street for 6.5 hours. So it's
obviously delivering more mail.
Yeah, I'm delivering more.
Right.
So that at some point has eliminated jobs.
Absolutely.
I think if the post office would have been smart before Gmail and all of that stuff, everybody would just get an email address when you were born. And it would be a .gov email address, and you could send all sorts of pertinent information through it. Wouldn't allow it to be spam.
Oh, could you imagine the conspiracy theories of that?
Well, yeah.
The government for sure be looking at your mail then. And I mean, there's hackers looking at your mail for sure. Right. I did a thing with Carl Molson's wife was a jeweler, and I wanted to buy some jewelry, and I sent her my credit card information through an email, and immediately it was
got hacked.
Yep, yeah. Immediately. Right. I was like, wow.
When are you going to have Carl on?
I know. I talked to Carl about coming on, and he was like, what are we going to talk about? I go, dude, I don't know, but it's going to be entertaining.
Yeah.
It'll be.
So when we initially had the idea for Chris and I doing our podcast, Carl was a part of it back in 2010. Really? And I think at the time our barriers then were just barriers now that are able to be crossed. Like when we do our episodes now, Chris is in Arizona.
Yeah.
And I'm in Indiana.
Right, sure.
And I don't think you can tell.
I couldn't.
That's the case.
And you know that, right? I told you that. I'm like, oh my God, I couldn't believe it.
But in 2010, you would have definitely been able to.
Right. Now I put up the YouTube video, so obviously I'm completely exposed. This is just in my house in front of a fish tank. Which I thought about moving it. The fish tank is actually a nightmare.
I do mine in my basement.
Right. Well, this is a nightmare. This is, I love the tank and everything, but the reflections, everything has got to be rigged a certain way so that you can not, have everything reflect.
Have a light up there.
Way up high, right. So as far as it goes, having what happened with Carl then? I don't understand what.
I don't know. We couldn't make it happen because of the technology. Oh, and I was going through a divorce, so I was probably drunk. Nice. As you know, that the divorces tend to make you drink, or at least me.
Right. I don't think I drank too much during my divorce. I was pretty much stewed in my own anger, but.
Well, I had a lot of anger, and I drank a lot. So there was a lot of lost times in those days. So
no, Carl's. I've always had. I think
I had to move out of my house was one of the other things.
Right. But Carl's a good guy to talk to. The few times that I've gotten the chance to sit down and have conversations are always stimulating conversations, and the guy's got a lot of good ideas. I want to have people on from an opposing point of view. I don't want to sit there and argue with them.
Right.
So that's the thing, but I don't want to have a monolithic one direction that it's always going, because even with our conversation, I hope that people got that I'm looking for solutions for stuff, not just because I don't believe the Democratic Party is there. They're not the savior. There's no chance.
I'm a vigilant opponent of the DNC, and I do not
absolutely. And the Bernie Sanders thing totally.
I do not think it's being run well right now. Currently, I think that what they're doing is they're promoting the most middle of the road candidate who is not going to
But they're trying to win an election. That's all they're trying to do. And it's vanilla. It's terrible.
I get it, but the reason that he won is that he got his base fired up.
You know what? So I did a lot of looking at the analytics, because when that election was coming up, I was a guy that was always saying he could win. Mm-hmm. He could totally win. And there were a lot of people like,
I said, no way. It's going to be a landslide. He has no chance. He's a joke.
I got a cousin that'll be coming on. He's an author. And we had dinner, and he was like, listen, he goes, I understand he's got this base and everything else, because there's no way. There's no chance. And he's more right-leaning than I am and everything else. And I'm like, I'm telling you, people believe that he's this character in the boardroom. That's all a set. They don't understand that that's not even a real place. They've had documentaries years and years ago where they went and interviewed him in his real office. Mm-hmm. It's got like piles of paper and shit and everything else. There's like a fucking phone somewhere. It's like KFC empty bowls everywhere. He's a conniption. He's like, he's a guy that was calling news outfits and posing as somebody else talking, raving about how great Trump is. And it's him talking. Like, he's a fraud and everything else. But they believed he was the guy. And I'm like, I'm telling you. And then remember like the Kurt Cobain, which was a fake? Yeah. That's not real. Kurt Cobain never said that. That if someone like Trump could get elected, he could save the country. Like Kurt Cobain had those sort of ideas to begin with.
I think the big part of it is that there are a lot of people that are racist and they don't want to admit they're racist. And
I'm cool with that.
They will secretly vote. They will preach whatever on Facebook on both sides. I'm just a critical thinker. I question both sides.
Right.
You're voting for Trump.
It's so weird.
That's what you're telling me.
It's so weird. You're a critical thinker, but you only think they have the same thoughts all the time.
Right. Like your only critical thinking comes when AOC or somebody like that says something.
So okay. So we bash the shit out of Trump because he's a fucking buffoon. He's a moron. But I will say that he's a guy that does this, and the wind blows, and I'm going to do that. And some of it is good. So I phone banked and worked at the campaign office for Sanders in Joliet.
Okay, so you are a Generation Xer that participated.
Yeah, oh yeah. No, I totally that was the first time I got involved, and I was like, all right, this guy.
You didn't just sit back and criticize
the things he was saying seemed like solutions, right?
Yeah.
And I saw a TV interview with him, then the reporter said, why are you running for president? Or why do you want to be president? And the first thing he said was, I don't want to be president. Uh-huh. I think that we need to do these things to change the country's direction because this needs to be done and no one's saying them but me. So being a president is the byproduct of what's going to go on. And I'm like, oh my God, this is a guy that's not an egomaniac that's trying to be president. It's a guy that's got solutions. So I started listening to him. His solutions were sound. Now, Donald Trump, to say things that are positive about him, because I have some things, they didn't come to fruition. Like the problem was like, so the trade deals.
Right.
I was against the trade deals. I don't care for NAFTA. I looked at
I don't think anyone.
Well, Republicans did, and this has been twisted now. So Republicans' worldview was, we're going to make this a world economy,
right?
And we're going to have free trade, right? Free trade with China, free trade. And I sat down thinking, I know union workers that make, with benefits, $90 an hour.
Right.
How could that compete with the guy making $2 a day in China
and polluting the shit out of everything?
Do whatever that they want to do.
Copyright.
Right.
That's the biggest thing now. You'll have a shoe factory next to another one, the one that makes Nikes, and then the factory next door will make knockoff Nikes. Right, so it'll be the same exact. But they're having, I don't know why I know that, but,
no, for sure,
filled with useless information.
But I looked at that situation and said, something has to be done about these trade deals. We cannot have free and open trade with everyone because we can't compete with the way that they're running their country. So Sanders was like, listen, we're going to need a tariff situation to be done on certain things to try and balance the situation out. We need some leverage to try and renegotiate some of these trade deals because they're not in our favor.
Right, imagine if the Chinese made cars and the cars were $5,000 for a new car.
Right. So the blue collar worker was real excited about what he was saying about that. Trump put his finger in the wind and saw that and said, all right, that's going to be my thing. Now everybody that's a Republican, a dyed-in-the-wool conservative, their head should have exploded at that second and been like, tariffs, what the fuck are you talking about? Yeah. It's free trade.
Free trade.
Capitalism rules everything.
The market will...
Right, we'll settle everything.
If you make the best product and it's union and it's made in the USA, people will buy it. No, they won't.
If you just let them sell across state lines, everything will be solved.
Right.
No, that's not true.
It's a disposable world now. So instead of if these headphones break, I don't go to a headphone place
to
have
TV breaks, you buy a new one, right? I had an uncle when I was a little tiny guy that was a Zenith TV repairman. He'd come out and he'd fix you. Right? No, there's no job. That's no job no more. Zenith doesn't even exist. So when Trump said, I'm going to
bring back coal mining.
Well, that was dumb. But so I'm trying to hit on some things that I was like, I agree with him. When he said, then he ended up doing it where he fucked it all up, and he's got to give $12 billion to the farmers.
Right.
So now you're doing socialism, the bad socialism part. Right. So you're trying to float somebody through this situation.
Hey, farmers, are you taking the money, though?
Yeah, you're taking the money, but voting Republican. Doesn't make any sense. You're a conservative. Sure you are. Got it. But then,
they're taking that money. Then 100% of the time.
Then Trump wanted to get out of Syria. And I'm like, I'm all for that.
I'm all for
Get the fuck out of those places.
And stuff. And I
every bomb we drop creates terrorists.
Terrible human rights violations that go on all over the world. Right. But I do agree with Bernie Sanders. We cannot police the whole
I don't want to be the world's police. We're going to go bankrupt policing
my kid or your kid. I'm sorry. There's nothing wrong.
Can't hit my kids.
I don't want them
Nope.
go into a war in a country that I feel bad for those people. But if you can't say on that same thing and then be like, well, we don't want any free trade and we want to seal up all our borders.
Right.
You can't argue capitalism and believe in those two things at the same time.
They're not right. They're not. You cannot. Right.
So okay, well, Mexico is going to say, well, you know what? We don't want any of your fucking retirees then.
Sure. Right.
You know what? Keep them.
So,
Costa Rica could say that too. Oh, you know what? Fuck you guys. We're taking all the property that Americans have bought in Costa Rica, and we're just going to give it to our citizens because you won't let people that need to escape from Guatemala into your country. Exactly. I mean, that's what I don't think. You know, just because the United States does something doesn't, doesn't mean another country can't retaliate by doing something else.
Something else, right? It's gonna. I even with the Sanders thing, I knew it was gonna get messy. Whatever Bernie was gonna do was gonna get messy before it got better. But then he was gonna try and even the playing field as far as the American people and the American worker goes. Now, the American worker can't compete with the Chinese worker because they make $2 an hour in a sweatshop and they don't care about that. What needs to be done is somebody needs to start caring about that worker that's in China that's sleeping on 6 hammocks high and they're all dying and everything else.
Right.
So you can have a cheap iPhone. You know what I mean? Like that.
Which
that
I do love my iPhone.
Right. That's where we're at. But that you can't square that with open markets and free trade and everything. The capitalism thing doesn't work.
No, and you can't say when the Chinese factory that's making the iPhones and Apple goes, well, you know what, you're charging us too much money. And then that guy goes, well, screw you, I'm going to make a bunch of fake iPhones.
Yeah, right.
And the United States can't do anything about that.
Right.
And China doesn't give a shit.
Right. But when Trump wanted to get out of Syria, I'm like, all for it. His handlers got a hold of him and said, well, whoa.
Yeah.
We can't get out of there. We have an industrial military complex that needs feeding constantly.
Isn't there something with opiates over there too, maybe?
Yeah.
I can't.
Right, I can't
poppies, maybe.
Yeah, right. Well,
or somewhere in that region.
So he has these thoughts that I'm like, yes, finally, he's going to do a thing that's going to change a thing that we don't spend $4 trillion on wars that we don't have to borrow the money from China.
Spend it on defense needlessly.
Right. Well, that's the problem. We wouldn't spend on defense if we're all of a sudden we're out of those wars. There'd be nowhere for that shit to go.
The post office loses a few $1 million a year, and we're worried about that. We're spending what on defense?
No, the defense thing's insane. It's completely insane. The people that are conservatives want to cut. They want to cut things like education, and that doesn't make any sense to me. You got to live with these people that don't know how to read or write now. But you like tanks just sitting in a field somewhere rusting. It doesn't.
Or
doesn't make any sense
plane that takes billions of dollars to develop and then is a bust.
It's a bust, right. Well, I mean, and I guess some of it you got to spend some money on R&D and stuff like that to get to the point.
Well, they have to keep Boeing and all the aerospace companies afloat because you know what? They got a lot of smart people that work there that they have to pay a lot of money.
Right. But if I had somebody on that was pro-Trump, you can only be like Joe Kostick, I find to be a good guy as far as that stuff goes. I've had conversations where I sit down and talk with Joe, and I usually don't use last names, but Joe would know who he was anyway. Right. But I've talked with him, and he is a straight-up Republican, and, he's got very conservative thoughts and everything else, and he's been, suspiciously absent from a lot of the stuff on Facebook.
Well, it is. I would be embarrassed if I was on that team, per se. Right. I would be embarrassed, and I would also think, this guy is devoid of any morality.
And I think that's part of the thing with Joe's.
Joe's
a generally
part
good
of
guy.
Being on the right is that regardless. Okay, so I go to I'm going to just give a stereotype. I go to church. I believe in God. Or I consider myself a Christian. You're more likely to be a Republican, I would say.
I think they've co-opted that because it's the simplest way to say I'm good.
Right, but how can you be that party and you're against drugs and all that stuff, and then have this morally bankrupt person as
Yeah, no, that's another circle you can't square. It doesn't. But okay, so I've twisted that in my brain to be
I'm
like,
not saying I'm the most moral person on earth.
Right,
that I've never done anything wrong. No. I'm just saying.
You should see my messenger on Facebook. It's fucking terrible. It's the most awful place in the world. My goddamn friends on there. It's like I'm a little scared sometimes. You know who you are, Jeff Harvey. Anyways, but. You know, I think that they've co-opted that so that they can just be like, I'm good and everything else. And that's, you know, complete nonsense. And that's down to every single person's own choice on what is moral and what's not moral, right? Like, I mean, so like I'm not, Jesus. I'm agnostic. So I'm a guy that like, I'm not here to tell you that there is no God.
So you don't talk about it.
Well, no, I just don't. Isn't that what that means? No, agnostic just, so atheist is like, you're like, there is no God.
Right.
I know that there's no God.
So you're just
agnostic is like, listen, there could be.
There could be.
Someone better, if he brings them along, I'll believe in it. You know what I mean? Like that.
Yeah.
If you can get some Satanistic person over here and he can conjure Satan himself, guess what'll happen? I'll believe in God because if Satan's real, then God's real.
There's a direct opposite. Yeah.
Right, then God must be real. So, there's probably I look at it and go, well, there could be a creator. There could be someone out in the cosmic universe. But it could be a guy.
It wouldn't be relatable to us, I don't think, if there was. And I don't and personally, I don't think he's watching sports or she.
Yeah, thank God we won the game.
Yeah, thank God Notre Dame won.
I think it's more like a kid making a sandcastle in the sand and walks away from it, never thought about it again.
Right.
Because, you can't possibly think about these things and let the Holocaust happen or let
what's happening in South America and some of these countries. Right. I don't know, but that's a very
here's another one that you
level.
Can't square. You can't have it both ways. I see the same guy that posts the post, we should not give any money to Colombia for aid or some South American country, but then we don't want those people to come here either. Well, wait a minute. When you stop the aid, that's when
they're coming here.
Then they're packing it up.
Or I want to drug test all the people that are on food stamps. Okay, so then the kid doesn't get to eat because now number one, he's got a parent that's a drug
crack addict, right, and now he can't eat.
And now he's not going to eat.
But besides that, they've done a cost analysis on that. It doesn't.
Yeah, work. They tried to do it in Michigan. Mm-hmm. It didn't work. I think they tried to do it in Florida, and they've stopped it in Florida.
Right. Well,
and if it didn't fly in Florida,
right,
it ain't working because that's the test.
I see people that when that was brought up, which is for me the most valid point. Listen, if it costs more to drug test than the people that you found out were abusing the situation and taking drugs, then it didn't work.
Right.
So, but they say, well, on principle, I don't want to pay for people. Listen.
You ain't paying for shit anyway.
Right. It's barely anything. And then let's do the math is I always post math things on there. And I love the goofy math problems that are on Facebook that you can sit there and figure out and come up with the sums. But if you take one of the 65 huge corporations that paid no taxes last year and you say, well, that corporation should have paid $4 billion in taxes, and your main concern isn't the $4 billion that you didn't get, it's the $400 that black lady got, and she's got fingernails.
I know, and she bought pop.
Right. Yeah. She
Twinkies.
She bought pop and a lobster.
Yeah.
Doesn't make any sense not because there aren't people abusing it, and I'd like it if they didn't. Mm-hmm. And I think there's other ways you could figure out for them not to. You can do the UBI thing is a way to stop the welfare situation,
right? Because
everybody gets it, and it doesn't affect you as far as working goes.
And I think there's a certain argument too with that then it's going to cause a huge amount of inflation, and I would argue no. Right. I mean, I think.
But do the math. Do the math on the situation.
Right.
Take $400. How many of this woman that you saw at the grocery store with the fingernails done and the steak in her hand? How many of those does it take to make up the $4 billion?
Chances are those people aren't shopping at a store where there's black people. I was going to say that.
No, right. But I'm just saying that you would need 40 million of those people to make up the $4 billion that one company in 1 year.
So we have federal workman's compensation at the post office, and I'm a union steward. I do not doubt that there are some people that are abusing it. But does that mean we just do away with the whole thing?
No, and there's absolutely. I'm a handicapped guy that works I work 2 jobs and I do this. And this is like you're doing it. This is kind of a job. This is like a thing.
Well, it takes me 2 days to edit.
Right.
Once, I sift through, because I guess we'll get back to the podcast because we can go all day on politics.
Oh, right, for sure.
So, like, what we do is we would kind of do this where we would freestyle. We have a little bit of an outline of, the magic fishbowl isn't really a fishbowl. We've already picked out which movie we're going to do. But so we'll talk. And we'll have 2 hours.
Oh, man, I'm totally disillusioned by that. You're kidding me. There's no fishbowl.
We'll have 2 hours worth of tape where we've just talked. And then I will go in and it'll take me 2 days to chop it up, edit it, do, an intro and maybe another outro, just depending on what's done. And it takes me almost 2 days to do that, but because I have to work my regular job on top of it. But,
yeah, right. Same with me.
Yeah.
So it takes time and it's a job. I enjoy it. I hope that other people enjoy it. I think that part of what you're doing is an escape to do your own thing and like have your own, like your own podcast, which is a fun thing to do. And then the other part is I do enjoy looking at the analytics and seeing that I have 600 views in a month. That means 600 times someone clicked on my one of my videos and checked it out.
That's amazing.
It is terrific, and it's a situation where, like, if I had 200 in a month, I'd be like, well, someone could have made a mistake or something like that. But when I got 600, I'm like, hey, people are actually, and then I'll get messages from people that are like, hey, man, I watched the witch one, or I watched the jujitsu one, and stuff like that. And he goes, I just got through the whole thing, and I'm going to look at this one next, and everything else. And they're happy about.
Well, like when I messaged you, like I was like with the one that I listened to with Laura, it was awesome. Like you guys.
So yeah, and I think that some people need to understand how you. And why should someone listen to it?
Well, I think a big barrier that we have is people don't know what the hell a podcast is.
Correct.
Even though it's a huge thing.
Yes.
Second, Apple. So if you try to look up your podcast on Google Play, or mine, it's a complete nightmare. Right. It's on there somewhere.
Yep.
If I click on the right thing. If I search
the entitled title, then I get it.
Apple, like yours, mine. It just comes updates on my phone.
Yep, right. Push notifications.
When I do a new episode, it just like, boom, it's on there.
Right.
So
yeah, I follow yours, so I get when you do a new episode, I get it.
It's Spotify. Not a lot of people have that. I don't know why.
So like, what the point would be, the best thing for someone to do if you want to try and find this podcast or Jerry's podcast is to find it that first time, spend a couple minutes finding it, then subscribe or follow the podcast.
If you follow it.
Right.
And if you, like in our case, if you just type SoCool podcast into Google.
Yeah, but it's so cool, one word, right?
Just one word. Yeah, that's the other mistake that we've apparently made.
First time I looked for it, I made the wrong, right.
And it probably should have been called the SoCool podcast because that's what people want to say. And if you ask Alexa to play it, it doesn't. Anyway, and then there's a not so cool podcast also that's out there.
There you go, right.
So, but anyway,
hopefully it's good. Maybe they'll get some crossover.
Right, I know. But I have a lot of fun doing it, and I thank you for inviting me here.
No, absolutely. But so the podcast thing though, the worst thing that's going to happen to anyone if they go on and they follow Jerry's podcast, whether it be on Podbean or iTunes,
Apple,
the Apple Store or something like that, or you go to YouTube and you subscribe to my channel, is you're going to get a push notification that you can turn off. But if you don't want to turn it off, you can just an email or whatever. You can ignore it, but you'll know when something comes up. And for mine, it's a different topic all the time.
Right.
I guarantee you at some point I'm going to hit a topic that you will be interested in.
Absolutely. And, at some point I'll do a movie that is relatable, like everyone has seen, maybe, that we'll talk about.
I don't know, maybe I was a kid that was watching other movies, but I've seen everything that you guys have done.
I want to do Hot Dog the movie so bad, but it's so obscure. But
you got to do the
like Top Gun.
No, you got to do the John Cusack one with the $2.
Oh, the Better Off Dead.
The Better Off Dead.
We do have a segue to that because we did a bit.
Right.
But like a lot of those bits too do come from old like drinking games that we used to play, like kind of like the fuck, marry, kill game, but we used to call ours for the publicity, right. And you had to fuck the person, so
sure.
Whatever, you know.
So I would say with Jerry's, with yours, like yours is for me, if I don't get a chance to get out and get a conversation in with somebody that I like to hang out with and talk to, like I like to turn yours on and then hear it. And so the way I listen to a podcast is, so, you know, when I go into the bathroom to, you know, shit, shower, shave, and everything else, I got a tablet in there.
Right.
So put it on the tablet. My bathroom is wired with speakers in it, so when the shower's on, it's real loud and everything else. So the entire time I'm in there, I got that going on. And I do audiobooks too. So like, if I'm in the car, people walk through life dumb because they just want to listen to their, you know, whatever music they've been listening to since like, I mean, honestly, people that are still listening to the exact same hair bands that they were listening to when I was in high school, I'm like, man, you got to evolve a little bit here. Like, you know, get some newer shit in there.
Guilty as charged.
Right. You know, I mean, I like Cage the Elephant and some newer stuff that's out there. Like, I really like the new alternative that's out there too. But if you just spend your time mindlessly droning through that stuff, you can get a lot out of a podcast. Right. I mean, when I started listening to podcasts, it was like, you know, Joe Rogan's, and I listened to Pod Save America.
I do. I'm on the street for 6 hours. I have one earbud in. So listening to music, I have to look out for dogs. Sure. I did get bit a couple weeks ago, which is an interesting story. Nice. But I have one earbud in. Normally I listen to a lot of political stuff, but lately I've been trying to kind of broaden and listen to, like, I do really enjoy some of the newer kind of old-time radio dramedy stuff they're doing.
Oh, that Serial one with they did the documentary on HBO. They did
that one, but also there's a new one with...
That's a podcast.
Yes.
Right.
That's the most famous podcast probably.
Right, ever. Of all time. But that people don't even... They're watching that show on HBO and they're like, oh my God, this is...
I didn't listen to podcasts even when I was... I think my wife and I drove to Florida and we were, you know, for some reason, I think this was when we first got together and Serial had just came out. And I could, like, they released all the episodes, first of all. So we turned on the first one, and the whole way down there we listened to it, and I was hooked. Completely hooked.
That was the same for me for...
But Rami Malek is doing one. You know, the guy that played Freddie Mercury.
Freddie Mercury, right.
He's doing one called Blackout. And...
he's an interesting
dude, is a too. Very well-funded... It's, you know, it's an old-fashioned radio drama. The episodes are like 20 minutes long.
Those are safe.
Yeah.
The well-funded thing is actually the bonus for podcasts for me, because I like a podcast because if you're watching your news program, there's an editor that says, oh, no, that's a sponsor. Right. We can't, we got to lean it this way or lean it that way. So you're getting
unfiltered bill.
Yeah, right. No, you are. And but if you look at the news, you look at something like that, you are getting a flavored version of what's happening. Where if you're listening to a podcast, I like the fake commercials you guys do on yours, but I have no sponsors.
At first, they're essentially placeholders to maybe if we ever got real sponsors, but those are about 50,000 listens away from what I understand from reading up. Right. But, like, I think with what you're doing, it's really cool because you're talking to regular people versus,
that's what I want.
You know, like a Joe Rogan isn't going to have me or you on his podcast because no one would care.
Well, so and the point of my podcast, and I don't know if, you know, I get people that, like, so some people are like drive-by social media people, right? So they're like on there for a day or two and then they skip it for, I don't get that. I pretty much check my social media daily, and mine's so busy on my social media, if I did not check it for a week, I would honestly have like 600 notifications. I'd be like, oh my God, what the fuck? But you know, so it's a daily thing. It's almost a little too much. I want to get an app that like tells me what I'm looking at because I don't look at it so much. But the whole thing with the podcast and with everything else is that you are getting sort of unfiltered me, but nothing goes across the same on Facebook and stuff like that as just the actual person. I mean, this is for a laugh too. I'm looking for a good time, and I'm looking for, I have a lot of them booked yet, but I'd like other people with different points of view. Just they got to be based in some sort of reality.
Right. You have to, like Laura said, you have to agree on a base set of facts, or
I got to get a fact checker.
Right. You just have someone sit over there and yell out, "That's not true."
Right. I mean, I would sit someone with a laptop and just like sitting there hitting the fact checks. That's another one that drives me nuts. I'm getting called out now on Facebook, and I think it's adorable that I look for too many facts. Like that's my MO.
Oh well, if you drilled down through everyone's life, some people have made mistakes, right? Like, oh no, this guy was bankrupt 6 times, and like he burned the people. That's my thing. Like,
I hope that people understand that
construction workers,
right?
Like I saw that happen in New Buffalo. There was a guy named Jimmy Gerzik who was a developer. Like a strip mall developer in this area, and he bought a bunch of property up there, and then he stiffed everybody.
But his whole thing was to actually bankrupt he would buy them all to bankrupt it.
Right. Well, there's a guy that does that owned Lincoln Mall and a mall in Benton Harbor. But there's he was a developer, and he basically bought all of downtown New Buffalo, and the city bent around him and did a bunch of stuff, and then one day he was gone, and his buildings weren't finished, and they were downtown New Buffalo, and so one of my friends was working as a contractor for him, and he owed him $50,000 or whatever, and so the guy went in to go get his tools and everything, and they arrested him.
Right. Well, that's another weird one too. There's so many people that are contractor types who are full out Trumpsters, and if they just realized how many contractor types he ruined their lives. They got fully invested into a job that they were doing for the guy.
Well, you could be with a business, like if I had a sale that I made when in the bike business for $100,000, let's say, to another company, and I invoiced them, and then they just decided not to pay me, I'm going to have a problem.
Right. Well, think about like, so
or they said, no, we'll just give you $50,000. How about that?
Right. No, yeah, right. So actual I don't want to again, Trump to me is the best thing that ever happened for not my side. It's for the solutions. I mean, I know I've seen a lot. I pay attention to a lot of the stuff that you put on social media and stuff, and I think it's some of it is, that fucking guy is a goddamn crook, and we don't get why are people who are just like us, that we care about those people. Why are you so invested in this guy who's a crook? It makes no sense to me. But another part of what you do is solution based.
Right.
Like, I'm looking for a solution. I don't want single payer healthcare because I'm a socialist and I've got this ideology. I want it because I've looked at the numbers. We have a shitty healthcare system in this country that we pay 3 times as much as other countries, and we live a less healthy life. Everything is not the way it should be. If we're the brightest and the smartest country, we could do it better.
And shouldn't we take care of our people if they can't take care of themselves?
There should be a certain empathy part of it too. Which those are the only people on social media that I'm like, you're an asshole. I
got mine. Fuck you. I don't care.
Right.
Okay. Well, you know what? At some point, the dynamic changes, because at some point, if you keep people down enough and you take away enough stuff, they're going to come and get their shit back.
Some of it's a self-fulfilling prophecy, right? If you're forced to, if you're in a demographic, you're an African American, or you're a Mexican American, or if you're from Cuba and you've come here and you're pushed on and pushed on and pushed down into a situation where you've got no outs, and then you go and commit a crime because you need to eat. Yeah. Then they're like, see, the brown guy committed the crime.
Or because you're addicted to drugs and you don't have any help getting off of them or whatever.
Right.
I mean, I don't know. It's we're not gonna
solve any problems, but I don't want anyone to ever walk away from a conversation that I had thinking that the only reason that I would like someone else be president is because I don't like Donald Trump personally, and I don't like Donald Trump personally.
No, I'm not a fan.
I'm not a fan of that. Like, if I was to sit down, and I don't get it either. Like, if someone said, "Okay, Bill, explain to me, do the definition of douchebag. Like, draw a picture of
like a
douchebag.
70-year-old guy with like a hair comb over, overweight.
There's nothing not
ripped
douchey
off
about
a bunch
him.
of people. He has a gold toilet. I mean,
I don't know what else gets douchier, right? Like, he talks about how much money he made, and it's all lies too. Like, it's not, he didn't make that money. Like, this is a guy that inherited it, and like, there's nothing.
I just think
douchey.
we're only here for a certain amount of time, and if we can't be decent to each other, then what's the point of it? You know.
Well, I think that some of the Republicans have been sold a bill of goods.
Why do we have to step on other people in order for? Like you said when I got here, like, you know, about teaching your kids that happiness should be the goal. That's a brilliant thing to say.
Right.
Because, you know, when I was growing up, I thought, well, I want to be successful. I want to have a lot of money. I want to have a bunch of, you know, cars. I want to have a huge house. But then, you know, later on in my life, I started to realize, well, partly because I didn't have money, that happiness was probably way more important. Right. And if I would have just focused on the stuff that I enjoyed, probably I would have been in better shape financially anyway. So.
Well, they say that the people that do the most firing at people and the lower are the people that are just above them.
Right.
They're the people that, like, they're looking at life like...
You're like one step above on the ladder.
Right, but if one little slip, I could be that guy.
Right.
And that, to me, seems crazy because you should be able to relate to that guy then, but you can't. You're so afraid of being that guy.
Right.
I mean, there's a bunch of studies that were out there that were like, you know, when the Irish came, you know, the people that just were in just before
Polish
that,
people.
right, were like, well, they're pitted against them because they don't want to be the guy at the bottom anymore. You know,
right. My grandma hated Polish people. Like, she was Irish, you know, off the boat, and it was just...
Sure.
Yeah. She hated black people too. So
right,
I don't know.
But I mean, like I said, like, so I have solutions that I think would work out, but I don't see a chance that a Republican could ever put them in place. One of them is a huge one that would solve problems across the board: publicly funded elections.
Right.
Where I
love that idea, and I don't see why anyone would be opposed to it.
I had one guy who was like, listen, I'm a Republican, and I feel that, and I couldn't believe he said it, but he said it out loud, my party probably wouldn't win any more elections if the elections weren't funded by money. And I'm like, oh my God, like...
Well, and it would take the motivation out of these corporations and lobbies. Like,
why would you care more about your party than the country and people getting the power to vote?
Right.
It doesn't make any sense.
You're basically on one side, you're siding with... I don't want to say that there's some sort of class situation going on, but there is. There's a handful of people that have way more than most people.
Well, then people confuse what I just said, like publicly funded elections, with getting rid of lobbyists. Now, lobbyists
I'd be fine with that too. But.
Right, but lobbyists. So I spent a week. I don't know if me and you've never talked about it, but so I went with a consumer advocacy group for wheelchair stuff.
Okay.
To Washington, and
so there are good lobbies too, is what.
Lobbying is an essential part of the way our government works. So all we did was we went to like one full day. It was like 8 hours where I was taking notes, and they paired me up with a Desert Storm vet who was missing 3 limbs. Mm-hmm. And I mean, his story, he was driving in a Humvee and they got hit in IOD or whatever, and mine, I don't know what it hit exactly, but he got blown off the road and he lost a good portion of his body. And I mean, he was jacked up. So, but we sat through this thing, and it was really like a law that was how wheelchair stuff gets billed to the government.
Okay,
so this guy had a stake in it, I had a stake in it, and I was more there because there's all kinds of guys that are not me that still have a stake in how the government funds wheelchairs. So we went to an 8-hour seminar, then we go to dinner, and then the next day we kind of like talked amongst each other for half a day about what we're going to do, and then they grouped us up, they organized the situation, and then I had appointments, half-hour appointments with representatives, with Dick Durbin, with all these people, and we sat down with them. Now, if you think your government, the people that run your government, are ignorant to what's actually going on, That's one thing. When you talk to them, you find out that they really are ignorant too.
Right.
And so be it. I'm ignorant to all kinds of things I don't know about. That's the reason for the podcast. I'm going to sit down with a witch and find out what being a witch is, because I don't know. You know what I mean? The transgender guy that I had on, like, I don't know what he went through to get to where he's at. So I'm going to sit down and find out. This is exactly what our representatives are doing. So they're going to vote on a bill in 3 days. I come in for a half an hour and I explain to them this bill.
Gotcha.
Now, that's one part of lobbying. Now, that's the part that you could keep.
Big corporations.
You could totally keep that part when you have publicly funded elections, because it's still the same appointments. The part that's bad is the guy that's like, listen, I want to get an appointment with you, but instead of me coming to you, I'm too busy because I'm a billionaire. I'm going to fly you first class to me.
And
you're going to golf all week.
You're going to tell them how good cigarettes are for
Yes, right.
people.
And then at the end of the week, I'm going to tell you that I'm going to probably donate to your campaign because I like you and stuff like that. So it's separate, but it's still the same. And then I'm going to explain to you that my business needs this bill where you can dump your coal ash in the river.
And who cares?
Kill everyone downstream because I need the money. So that's the bad part of lobbying. So we need to separate. Like, there's socialism that I don't want. I don't want government in control of my news. But I do want things that should not be for profit, like healthcare, to be taken care of by the government so no one falls through the cracks.
Because isn't that the job of the government, essentially?
Some people think it's to
just
help wealthy people. No, I think it's... So if I'm a shepherd, I live here on my fish tank stuff. It's a hobby of mine. The lake, I'm the guy that stocks the lake here and everything else. If I'm the shepherd of the lake, or I'm the shepherd of this system right here, these two animals that are in here, these are the lions. These are top predators, the apex predators. They're tiger muskies in the lake. When I got them, they were the width of 2 pencils and about 9 inches long. If all I do is put this animal in the ecosystem, and the tank doesn't count, it's too small.
Right.
And I don't just put them in there because they would starve. But if all I do is keep putting muskies in there, because I like muskies, and I keep putting them in there, everything in the end is going to starve because you can't just eat muskies. So what I have to do is I have to put a shit ton of minnows in the lake, and I have to put things in the lake that minnows have places to hide, minnows have things to eat, minnows have breeding ground. Because if I don't take care of the very bottom of the ecosystem, the very top of the ecosystem dies also.
Right. Well, that's what I mean. Like, who does the work then? If everybody just says, "Well, screw you," we're not.
Well, that's
we're
the
not
reverse.
We're not playing this game anymore.
That's the reverse Atlas Shrugged.
Right.
Atlas Shrugged. Right? You know that story where we're so overburdened with taxes, we're just going to not do this anymore. Yeah, the people that own Walmart or something going to shoot
but
their
like,
doors.
what if like in the 1970s? So like that was when the postal strike happened, and it was just one big branch. Because our union is structured like we have a bunch of smaller locals, like ours is one of the big ones, South Suburban. But New York City, there was a branch of letter carriers, and they went on strike. They had to bring the National Guard in. It was a complete fiasco. It was a wildcat strike. It was illegal.
Okay.
No one got fired over it.
Right.
But like, if that was a thing and there was a general strike, it could change. I think that's one of the things that could change dramatically how things are structured in any kind of way. So if it was over healthcare, you could do it for 2 days, and it would cripple everything at the top. Right.
It's also, back to the solutions thing.
But that's why they keep everybody arguing with each other, because
that's a fact.
If everyone got together, they would be like, "Oh, you know what? We're taking your stuff. You don't understand. So when you die, Donald, all your wealth, you know what we're going to do? We're just going to write checks to everybody."
Wait, but I mean, Donald doesn't seem to understand either that no matter how wealthy he becomes or whatever happens, you can't take it with you anyway.
No,
it's gone. You're nothing,
dead.
Right, you're dead. So, back to like solution-based situations. I mean, with you and me, we're gonna bash Trump because he's this massively dumb big target to do that too. But solutions like publicly funded elections, solutions like reforming the lobbying situation in this country, those would drastically change the way that the country goes.
Right, and we would elect probably more liberal libtard.
Right, libtard. That's my favorite.
I am a libtard. I guarantee.
What are some of the other ones? There's still so many awesome ones that they use. It's like, oh my god, you just called me a name.
Yeah,
what do you
snowflake.
Like? No, snowflake. And wait a minute, the snowflake thing that kills me because like we've had this total conversation. I've never been angry once. I'm never mad.
Right.
That's not a situation for me.
And then you're going to call me an asshole and an idiot. And
right. They get all mad and call you names and everything else. And I'm the snowflake. How am I the snowflake? Wait a minute. Your leader, Donald Trump, is the biggest snowflake. He's the most thin-skinned, fragile.
Thing.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
He's tweeting 12 times like a child that this is going on. Like he's amazing.
I'm all for that to go away.
See, I'm the opposite.
I'm all for that whole thing.
I think that they got to unleash. Did you hear what Bannon said? That if he gets reelected, you'll get Trump unleashed. Like he's been somehow leashed this entire time. Like
he's gonna do whatever he wants until he dies.
Right. Well,
there's nothing.
So okay, this is the reason that I think that Trump has to run and win the next time to keep himself out of jail, because there will be other investigations. This Mueller report is honestly people that think that there's nothing there, that like somehow there's all kinds there.
Right.
There's all kinds of guilty people that pled guilty that were wealthy. All the indictments. And then there's like 7 people that pleaded guilty. These are wealthy, powerful people that would never plead guilty to something if they didn't do something. And it's probably they pled guilty to some lesser thing than they actually did so they could not get as much time.
Right.
So, like, there's all kinds of dirt in this report. The report's online. You could read it, but instead you go listen to Hannity, and he tells you there's nothing there.
He tells you it's fine.
Right.
It's
nuts.
But I don't know, getting back to that, with the whole libtard and the insult thing, it just, like, when you post a fact from a website, no matter what site you post it from, you're wrong, and that site is biased.
Right. So here's what my challenge to those people is: listen, and they have decided that all fact checking sites are biased.
Right.
All fact checking sites are not biased. And if you go to them, they usually cite where they got the information from. Secondly,
and if you're unfamiliar with citing, then you need to take some basic English classes back.
But if you're skeptical about it, then these are 3 entities I'll give you where you got PolitiFact, you got Snopes, and you got factcheck.org.
Right.
Okay, that's 3 different entities. And these are 3 entities.
And that .org is a non-for-profit.
Right, but they make but non-for-profit, you can still make money out of non-for-profit. You can still be a guy who makes it. Right. So but they still have a vested monetary interest in the site being viable, right? So if all you did in your fact-checking site was post things that weren't facts, you would go out of business, first off. Secondly, if you take all 3 of these sites who are independent of themselves and you cross-check one thing between the 3 sites and they all come up with it's not a fact, it's not a fact.
Right.
It's not a fact. So,
but then that's when, what I'm saying is that's when you get the name calling.
Yes, immediately, right.
Like,
but how happy, see, for me, like I always spin it, I guess, I'm happy that I'm not the person saying facts are not facts.
Right.
Or I have a spokesperson that actually said alternative facts out loud.
Because how do we get back to that? So, like, when he's gone, which eventually he will be.
Well,
or
I don't know, Bill Maher,
I don't know.
Bill Maher thinks that he's a coup and he's going to stay.
I predicted that he does not cede power. I predict that if the election is anywhere close, that he will have an investigation, and that if that Congress will not do anything, because they won't do anything. They don't do anything.
He flat out said when China voted for President forever, he said that sounds good to me.
Right. I predict that. I mean, speaking of podcasts, again, there's another podcast that speculates on the second Civil War happening, and that it's very scary because
there's a ton of podcasts out there, and I encourage everyone to go listen to a podcast, including mine and Jerry's. But the podcast is super simple. In my Subaru, I can put the podcast on my phone. It's Bluetooth to my vehicle, and it plays the podcast while I'm driving.
Yeah.
So it's super easy. If I have a TV on in the house or a radio at the office, or a computer at the office, I can have it on. I can do my work, and it's what's going on.
It's super easy. That is a barrier.
The other barrier is it's free.
Well, it is free.
It's free.
You can pay me in cash. I'll give you the
When you see
location
me,
later.
bring some Bloody Marys.
Yeah,
Let's, have a drink.
I will take money.
Right.
But essentially, like I said, I do it, and hopefully it makes people laugh and they enjoy it.
Yeah. And the other thing is you can be positive, because I don't have much money, that I'm not being paid by some big corporation to say these things.
I would love to be, though. If anyone wants to sponsor,
my number to sell out is very low.
If anyone wants to sponsor either one of our podcasts, we will take your money.
Well, hey man, we're the longest I've ever gone. We're 2 hours and 40 minutes. Let's wrap it up, because this will definitely take people a long time to get to that are my
very good
my listeners. But in the end, please go check out the SoCool podcast. Check out my podcast. If you're listening to it in a podcast, there's a YouTube version. My conversations with people who know stuff is the same thing, both places. Check it out. Please subscribe. Let us know that we're not doing this for money, so let us know that you're following us.
Yeah.
All right.
Very good. Thanks,
cool,
Bill.
It's a good time. Cool, man. See, I think stuff like that, like for me, it ends up being, and I don't like to edit.